As we prepare to crown the 2018 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series champion, and we're so happy that you're along for the ride with us this evening for the 18th and final race this season. We welcome you into the RaceSpotTV booth. Myself, Evan Pasoka, Randy Cheneth with you for the call tonight. Our director, Hugh Louise, is downstairs. RaceSpotTV and the iRacing Esports Network. One race to crown a champion. Let's go racing from Homestead. Green flag in the air to turn number one. Nick Ottinger, your pole sitter, brings us up to the gears for the first time. We are going to go 3 wide for the lead at Homestead, just 9 laps in. Lewis wants to make the inside work, and Schoenberg way overdrove quarter 3. He'll throw this one away. Brad Davies with a big run.
Fortunately loose, Mr. Taylor Hurst, Michael Guest just coming up the racetrack. They both go for the same bit of real estate at the same time. The 05 and Nick Ottinger, bit of an set up the dream situation. Michael picks up the 4th spot, and that puts championship contenders running 1, 2, 3, 4 as they come to start lap 107.
The battle for the top 4 is the battle for this 2018 championship.
Able to fight Ray here as they go down the front straightaway, but if you versus the 34 as he gets the wall, they go side by side to the 1.
It was the slightest bit of contact, but it breathes new life to Ray Alfala. Look how hard they drive it into the corner as Alfala pushes Luza up the hill.
Straightaway, do either of them off the pit road? Yes, he does. Ray Alfala makes the call a few laps after Busa.
And he went right side by side with Luza into the corner. And look at how Fowler digs sideways as he tries to get all the time he can. All kinds of out of shape as Ray Alfala drives it hard to pit road.
There is $10,000 on the line, 2 laps to go, and $10,000, 2/10 of a second separating it.
1 lap to determine the championship as Ryan Luza still needs a car length and a half, just 1 into the final time. The 6 drives it in hard. He looks for the bumper of Alfala, but he is not going to get there in time. The 6 can't stay in the S, and Ray Alfala is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
Hello everyone and welcome to a very special broadcast here on RaceSpotTV. The Australia-New Zealand iRacing community has many fantastic, varied teams that compete in the various leagues that we hold over on this side of the world. But which of them is the most versatile? That is the question that we hope to answer tonight here in the All-Star Teams Challenge. We've got 4 different disciplines, 4 different cars, and many different teams vying for the title here. My name is Reese Gardner. Joining me in the commentary box is David Haynes. David, we've got a full night of racing ahead of us. We've got Dirt Oval first up.
Yep, exactly. We've got everything. We've got right turns, left turns, dirt, pavement, and some races with a bit of both. I'm looking forward to it, but as you say, first up is these 410 dirt sprint cars here at the dirt track at Charlotte for a 45 lap race. Race 1 of 4. We'll have to have a look at the entry list.
Yeah, certainly. Well, we've got quite the entry list here. We've got the likes of Synergy Sim Racing and One Performance Racing, along with Talk Inc., Gavin Sadler Racing, TTL Esports, Middle Finger Racing, JP Simshed, Progression Racing Australia as well, Redback Racing Team, Pace Syndicate, and Illusion Motorsport. So we've got a different driver from every team competing in every discipline tonight. Quite the interesting driver lineup here. So you can see on the screen at the moment who is competing in what category. Of course, Talk Inc., unfortunately, it seems not able to make the racing here, but from all the other teams, we have some very good representation for sure.
Yeah, precisely. There's quite a few well-known names, well-known teams in this, and it's really going to test these teams. How deep is the talent in their team? Because they can't rely on just one star driver. They need to have a good driver in each of the races, and they can't just rely on pure star power. This will really test the depth of the talent in each of these teams.
It absolutely will. There's quite a few teams in all the world of sim racing. As we're coming to the end of the qualifying session, I believe. We got absolutely amazing lineup tonight. Zach Fellon currently on pole tonight in the 410 sprint cars here at the dirt track at Charlotte. Rick Gosley in second by just 0.05 of a second. Very close gap there at the front. And of course, with the dirt tracks here, David, the drivers have to worry about a lot more than rubber buildup on the tarmac. They have to worry about the cushion. They have to worry about the track slicking up and going dry and completely changing the behavior of their cars over these very short bursts that we call heat races on ovals.
Yeah, exactly. And with one 45-minute race in this series tonight, with beasts of cars like this, I think we'll see the preferred racing line shifting quite dramatically over the course of the race. Has to be mentioned that iRacing safety cars are enabled and there'll be no wave around, so important to stay on the lead lap.
Yes, indeed. Once you go back into the pits, you are not allowed back out on track if you decide to escape back during the race. So the drivers will have to be careful. The drivers will have to make sure that they stay in the running. Currently looking at David Baxter sitting in the pits for Redback Racing Team. Now, Redback, I'm interested to see how they go tonight. As David himself actually does go out onto the circuit now. We'll see how he goes here. Redback, they've had an incredibly good 2018 competing in other series in the AusNZ community. Ever since gaining that LeBlanc sponsorship and gaining a bit of help from TTL Esports as well along the way, their form has absolutely skyrocketed.
Yeah, exactly. Used to seeing them quite often in V8 supercars. Won't have any of them tonight. They've got dirt ovals, pavement ovals, Rallycross, and then lastly we'll have the Formula Renault 2.0 at Phillip Island. But looking at their driver entry list, they've got quite a bit of talent, and I think with Harley Haber as their Rallycross driver as well. On the dirt here, might not be their best chance, but I think overall they've got a strong team.
Yeah, certainly. And David Baxter, I mean, he is appearing at the bottom of the timesheets there, but you got to understand that the gaps between the cars, definitely nothing to sneeze at. They are incredibly close. Lewis Hewitt maintaining pole position as we come to the end of this session. And, I mean, 4/10 separating some very difficult to drive at the limit 410 sprint cars around the dirt track at Charlotte. I think that this field is reasonably close. I'm particularly interested to see what the battle's going to be like between P2 and P3 there.
Exactly, that's what I was looking at as well, Reese. Well, Lewis Hewitt's got a pretty nice little qualifying gap there. Second, third, fourth, fifth. That's really close stuff there. And points in this race might be very, very valuable because the orders could be reversed in the later races. This might be a chance for some of those teams to make a really good start at this event.
Yep, for sure. The seconds tick away. Going to go into the race session very, very shortly. So, checkered flag flying now. It is daytime here, and usually these dirt races can be run at night. But hey, it's certainly nice to see the sun out. So, the grid going to be Lewis Hewitt for TTL Esports, Zach Phelan for One Performance Racing. In third place, we are going to have Trent Gosley for Middle Finger Racing. Good run from him. Lachlan Smith for Synergy Sim Racing as well. I'm really interested to see how he goes. Synergy, very good on the dirt. John Schultz for Pace Syndicate, P5. Good run from him. And Gavin Sadler and his namesake team taking up position 6 on the grid. Aaron Wilton for Illusion Motorsport, and Sam McLeod, I believe, taking the grid there for Talk Inc. For Sam McLeod, Mitch McLeod's father. So we're going to possibly see Mitch later on in this event. Rounding out the field, of course, we have the Redback Racing team driver of David Baxter. So we wait now for the iRacing Pace truck to make its way around the circuit. I tell you what, this particular style of racing, I mean, we've said it before, David, but it's really difficult to get an optimum start in conditions like this, even with all that power at your disposal.
Yeah, exactly. We know cars like these, cars like the Dirt Midgets, entirely capable of lifting the front wheels off the ground on acceleration if you're not careful and if there's plenty of grip available, which there can be with these big fat wide tyres that they have got. Once we get rolling in about 10 seconds time, and we'll do, I believe, 2 pace laps, then when the pace truck pulls off, it will be Lewis Hewitt of TTL who controls the field, and he's going to have to be careful when and how he makes his jump to start this race.
Absolutely, and not only that, but guys behind him and next to him are going to have to be incredibly careful about how they go about it themselves, because it'll be very easy for Hewitt to get an excellent jump. So Zachary Phelan in P2 will have his eyes well and truly trained on the TTL driver as they come up to take the green flag. Tell you what, there's not much room through the corners as well. It looks like a very wide circuit here at Charlotte, but you got to remember, the optimum racing line is very, very thin at a track like this.
Precisely. We'll definitely think that the overtaking in this race is going to be very exciting to watch. We might see some slide jobs thrown, as they like to say, because the narrow line to drive on like that, overtaking has got to be bold. You've got to make the move early and hope that it sticks. I'm honestly expecting we might see a caution in this race, but I'm hoping we don't see too many as the pace truck pulls off.
Yes, indeed. Pace truck pulling off just before turn 3. So Lewis Hewitt is going to lead the field away here. He goes early. Zach Phelan, unfortunately, not able to stay with him. Phelan already facing a bit of pressure here from Trent Gosley, but Gosley now facing pressure from Lachlan Smith, and there's contact there. Zach Phelan off. May that be the safety car? Not quite sure.
He didn't quite make contact with the wall, kept it going. I think he's still in this one, but definitely not what he wanted to do early. That's dropped him right down the order and promoted Trent Gosley and John Schultz up the order.
Yes, indeed, Lewis Hewitt doing very well there up the front already in this 45-lap race, just coming around to start lap 4. The laps just absolutely fly by at tracks this short. Lap times of about 13 seconds is what we're dealing with here. Trent Gosley and Schultz staying together very nicely. David Baxter, my goodness. Have a look at him. That's crazy there. Backing the car straight into the corners. He is involved in quite the battle with Sam McLeod there at the back as Felon tries to make his way back up with a bit of damage.
Yeah, and now David Baxter drops in behind Sam McLeod again. Very, very close racing, even here at what's effectively the back of the pack. Oh, they touch again. And David Baxter might have some damage from that one. Definitely hit the outside wall. He keeps it going, though, and again, the racing stays green, which is good to see.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, the last thing someone like Lewis Hewitt at the front wants is the pace truck to come back out and neutralize the field. Oh, well, having said that, there we are. The caution is out. That's unfortunately David Baxter. His race going awry once again. He's back to the pits. He will not be making another appearance here. Let's have a look what happened to him on the replay. Oh, goodness me.
It's a bizarre one.
Too tight of a line there.
Yeah, getting the tyre bundle on the inside of the corner. Maybe he threw it in and it just gripped more than he was expecting because he's on. And we see the replay here. Fantastic camera angle once again. Just flips it right on its lid in the middle of the corner there.
Tell you what, that's one thing you do need to watch out for at a lot of dirt ovals like this. They may have berms, they may have embankments on the inside. Here at Charlotte, you got those white tyres to deal with. Hit them the wrong way, as David Baxter definitely proved, you will be out. So unfortunately, Redback Racing Team will not be coming away with any points in this one.
But what's happened to Lewis Hewitt? Because he's not leading this train.
Oh, he certainly is
He may have been tangled up there in David Baxter's incident because Trent Gosley is leading this train behind the safety truck, and I cannot see Lewis Hewitt out on track, so we're going to get a replay. Here he is.
Technical issue, maybe. He just pulled straight off the track.
Wow, that is a very big fall from TTL Esports, and Lewis Hewitt was leading this race, you'd have to say, pretty convincingly, and now he is not and will not be able to rejoin, and the racing is about to get started again.
It certainly is. So Trent Gosley is leading the way here. We got single file restarts. Gosley is away very nicely, but you can see just behind him P2 and P3 going right at it. So that's Don Schultz and Gavin Sadler battling there. I tell you what, Schultz and Sadler have done very well to make their way up the field here. Sadler, though, really pressuring the back of him right now.
Yeah, Sadler was the fastest car out last lap around. Of course, his laps fly by, and he's definitely looking at John Schultz's Pace Syndicate car, thinking, how can he get past?
Well, there's plenty of ways that he could go about it, but you can see that the racing line is forming, and Sadler
throws it to the inside.
Oh, he's gonna be getting on the exit. Schultz. These guys trading slide jobs right now. Meanwhile, Trent Gosley's just out there in front thinking, goodness me, guys, don't race too hard. You might just get into me.
Lachlan Smith behind in the number 911 is watching very, very closely, because if these guys get tangled, he could come through. He's right on the back of them now.
Yeah, Gavin Sadler going right up the inside there. Oh, but once again, Don Schultz trading slide jobs. Once again, these guys aren't leaving each other alone, absolutely glued to each other right now, but they've got to remember, the more they use that middle line, the more the groove is going to slick up. They want to start using that top line. That's where a lot of the guys are, whoa, oh dear, that's not good.
And they do make wheel-to-wheel contact. John Schultz just manages to hold on to it, but he does lose out to Lachlan Smith, like I said. Could happen. Car looks all right. He's still going out there. He might try and make his way back up into third.
Yeah, is right on the back of him now. That is a One Performance Racing sprint car. That is Zachary Felon making his way up the field again. This that safety truck, pace truck. Get it right, Reese. That's exactly what Felon would have wanted, but that is definitely not what Felon would have wanted.
Absolutely
Very close
it into the corner.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting very racy with John Schultz, actually hitting the outside wall. Felon is not leaving any quarter here.
Just gone past halfway race distance as well. He's looking very, very racy. Indeed, the laps are flying by at 13 seconds apiece. He goes to the inside, does the number 49. Is he going to get the run off the corner? Not quite, but he'll try again. And this time, I think he's got the overlap.
Oh, he might not. My goodness, that is... that's crazy there. Very, very close. He's just throwing it into every single corner.
It's what you've got to do there, side by side, and he's now going to take the high line. Can he get a good run off that corner? Not quite. Very, very good defensive driving by John Schultz, who's still right on the back of Lachlan Smith. 3-car battle right here. Zach Phelan's going to go the high line, get a little bit balked by Lachlan Smith, and then John Schultz gets balked as well. Phelan goes all the way to the inside. Is it 2 for 1 tonight? It's not.
Tell you what, these guys are riding the bumps very roughly at the moment. You can see the wheels working incredibly there. Fantastic 3-car battle we got right now in the dying stages of this race. Phelan just not getting the exit, and he's off. He's off into the infield. He's managed to get onto the track once again, though. Good to see that he is still out there circulating. That's going to definitely help him when it comes to the championship.
Fantastic wheel work to save that one. Even if he maybe cut that corner a little bit, he's right back at it, putting Aaron Wilson behind him. 15 laps. I'm not sure if he can catch up to that battle again, though, as Wilson will take the slide job this time.
Yes, indeed. That is certainly going to help them coming through into remaining rounds of this little mini championship we're having tonight. Phelan makes his way past Aaron Wilson. A little bit too much of a slide there on the exit, though. That is where Phelan is unfortunately not getting the advantage he needs. He's got it sorted out on entry, but on exit, he's just not able to get it done.
Yeah, once again, he goes to the inside, and most of the way around the corner, he can't quite get the power down, but he goes to try and block Aaron Wilson, and it doesn't quite work. Once again, they're side by side.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's any other option other than side by side. Phelan trying the high line here on Aaron Wilson.
Replay now of what's happened to John Schultz. He's just hit the outside wall, ridden that a little bit. And that's cost him some positions, but again, I think he's still going. They are building these dirt sprint cars very, very tough for us.
Oh, they certainly are. These things would probably, well, you know, cockroaches can survive a nuclear holocaust. Probably the 410 sprint car can as well.
Yeah, and still provide some good racing while they're doing it. Trent Gosling, now within 10 laps to go, leads by a relatively comfortable 2.5 or so margin over Gavin Sadler, Lachlan Smith fighting for 2nd place. Zachary Phelan is now just holding on to that 4th spot, but 4th through to 7th, you cannot separate any of them by more than a second.
No, certainly not. That's super close there. These lower positions on the podium. I mean, Gavin Sadler and Lachlan Smith, they seem to be putting a lot of pressure on each other, but once again, it's these battles in the midfield that we are really looking out for. Have a look at how close Aaron Wilton, Sam McLeod, and John Schultz are right now.
Yep, those are 3 on screen. Aaron Wilton at 25 leads the Hawk Inc. car of Sam McLeod, who gets very, very close. He's eager for that position. He tries to go to the high line, tries to run that up there, but I feel like the grip is working in the middle right now for Aaron Wilson.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, the drivers have been running that high line all race. Sam McLeod trying to make it work around the outside, but Aaron Wilton's just taken advantage of that cooler, slightly damper track there in the middle. He is maintaining that momentum. He's just scything his way across it. McLeod, he has nowhere to go.
Yep, exactly. And then for 2nd place, boy oh boy, is it close with Gavin Sadler, losing out to Zachary Phelan. Is there a problem there for Gavin Sadler? He's pulling off potentially. That's cost him a 3rd place position.
That is a real shame for Gavin, because he was doing fantastically there. Real shame, but oh, goodness me, Lachlan Smith. Oh, that's a big hit right there on the second last lap of this race. I mean, out the front there, Trent Gosley seems very untroubled. He's going.
Very good race from him. So he's going to take the checkered flag this time. Well done to him. Zachary Phelan, though, a massive drive to come up into second place from the issues he had. And Lachlan Smith grabs third place.
Excellent stuff from those guys. I tell you what, I do think that Phelan is a candidate for drive of the race, but Trent Gosley as well, just keeping it nice and consistent where others failed, had their issues. We got the unofficial race results up on screen there right now. Gosley, Phelan and Smith your podium. Wilton, Schultz, McLeod, and then Sadler, Hewitt and Baxter your retirements from this one. That is unfortunate for all three of those teams. So Gavin Sadler Racing, TTL Esports and Redback Racing Team will definitely be hoping for something more in the remaining 3 races tonight.
Exactly. One thing, Reese, we haven't yet touched on is that in this little championship, the team managers have to nominate one of their drivers as their joker driver, and that driver scores double points. We'll have to see which, if any of the drivers in this race were nominated to score double points, because if you put that joker on a driver who then has a poor race, that could cost you very, very heavily later on.
Yeah, it certainly could. You use it at the wrong time and that's basically your night over. So our race administrator, Clint Smith, the organizer of this event, is filling out the finishing positions and the points as we speak. We will know soon who has decided to opt for that joker in this race, if anyone, and we'll get a bit of a pointer on the points coming into the second race. So we've just done the dirt race in the 410 sprint car here at the dirt track at Charlotte, but while we wait for the points to come up in the next race, we're going to Homestead Miami Speedway in the NASCAR Xfinity cars.
Yep, that's going to be an exciting one, and it's a circuit that NASCAR was just at to crown their champion, and it's one I'm actually quite fond of in the south of Florida.
Yeah, certainly. Homestead Miami Speedway, one of those quintessential early to mid.
Hanging up on the motor race, we have Mac Backham takes the victory. Hutu second, Gregor Hutu in second place. What have we just seen? Martin Kroenke in third, and the title will go down to Kota. My word! I do not know what I have just seen. Silverstone a couple of years ago was the craziest finish I've ever seen to a World Championship Series race until today. And I'm just having a look. He doesn't... What did Martin Kroenke even do there, James?
I think he was out. I honestly think he was out. I haven't seen anything like this before. He was struggling to get the power on. I don't think he was out. Maybe he was wanting to give Matt Backham the victory because he was quicker, because he still had the championship. Oh my goodness, Martin. I think we have just seen the defining moment of the season. I have no idea what Kroenke's done. We'll have to ask him for an interview. But Gregor saw an opportunity, sent one down to the inside on the final corner, and I think that Kroenke wanted to give the victory potentially, maybe not second, but this title's alive, Will, and De Jong has been given...
To that final showdown, we're going to log 2 more in. 4 are going to leave here disappointed, and they're getting ready to grid to roll off for this 200-lap affair.
Vincent's field to control as they roll slowly at 40 miles an hour off the quarter to take the American Ethanol green flag. Round of 8 racing once more from Dover. Second to last race of 2018. sideways in the corner. The 12 machine holds it low, and it unfortunately snaps back up the hill. There it is. He just lost it. Coming down the back straightaway. Look out. And somehow doesn't get smoked by Zelensky. But that 27 was not as fortunate.
Side by side for that position. What is right now position number 3 on the running order, which could be a battle for the win potentially if this thing cycles out. Almost little contact off turn number 4. Conti continues to fight on the inside.
He continues to dig on the inside, and this could be the most critical battle for what will be a race win we've seen all season long. The 24 should have a better run off of the quarter on the outside, but are those tires going to be too good into the quarter for the 5 to get the gap? Off of turn 4, he will push up, and yes, sir, Michael Conti passes Leahy for what is 3rd position, and it'll be his 2nd win in 4 weeks. Michael Conti wins from Dover, 2nd on the round of 8, and he'll head to Homestead in search of a 2nd championship, arguably as the favorite.
A native, Martin Kroenke, he will start himself on pole position here today. It's going to be a long race. It will be a frustrating race for a number of drivers, but it's all going to be about who can get maximum momentum at the start of this event. The lights will go on top of the iRacing gantry. We are ready to go racing here at the Nürburgring. Lights are out. We are away, and it's a good start then by Kroenke as they storm down into turn 1. Look at Gregor Hutu in towards that first corner. He holds the outside line. He will take 2nd place away from the looks of it of Marcus Jensen. So Hutu up into 2nd place early on. Behind, we've got ourselves a little bit of beating and banging. Mitchell Young remains in 4th place for the time being, but what a start there, Johnny, by Gregor Hutu.
Yeah, Hutu rocketed off the line. There he is, riding on board with him, heading through the middle part of the lap right now. He's edging closer and closer to Kroenke here. It'll be an epic first lap if he can get past. But for Martin, perfect start. Almost had a touch from Marcus Jensen heading into the first corner, but it was all clean. The Burst Esports driver demoted to 3rd.
Well, Jake, that's going to change a lot of his strategy now for Martin Kroenke, because it was Jensen who is running in 2nd place. Kroenke might have thought he could stretch his legs. He can't do that anymore because I believe that Hutu is in charge mode.
Yeah, he certainly is. Also keep an eye on that start because it checked up for Jamie Fluke, and Fluke went around into his own teammate, no less. And I believe that was Antoine Higeland at the very, very beginning of this race. So really not ideal here for Apex Racing drivers on the opening.
Looking from the rear end of Martin Kroenke's Commander Simsport car. Hutu with DRS. He has a great opportunity here, Will. I think he's a bit too far behind, but certainly to pack on some pressure.
Yeah, and again, oh, it goes right down to the inside. Goes Gregor Hutu, and he's been able to get the inside line for turn number 2. Pass of the season there. Gregor Hutu storms himself down to the race lead. I cannot believe that. Let's have a look again on board with Gregor Hutu, because this one was something special. He came back from 4 car lengths back in towards turn number 1, launched it down to the inside. He somehow managed to make it work. He overshot the corner, and arguably, Johnny, I would say that Kroenke realized that Hutu overshot and gave him the position.
Wow. I think that Gregor Hutu didn't mean to make that move, Will. I'm going to say something very silly. I don't think he meant it. It was such a late dive down to the inside, and it was almost as if I'm hitting my braking point. Oh, wait, I'm going so much quicker.
Welcome back, one and all. You are watching RaceSpotTV. This is the All-Star Team Challenge, the ultimate matchup of the most versatile teams in the iRacing Oz NZ community. We're at the second round here at Homestead Miami Speedway in the NASCAR Xfinity cars. We've raced on the dirt, now we race on the pavement at this very fast, very high-banked super speedway in the south of Florida. Once again, I'm Reese Gardner, and I'm joined by David Haynes. David, it was a fun dirt oval race, but now we go to Miami.
Yep, exactly. We're going to have 9 cars take to the grid for this one, which you'd think is a pretty small grid for this type of racing, but if we get half of the action we saw on the dirt, then this is going to be some pretty close, pretty exciting racing here. Got your weather up on screen there, just a little bit shorter than 1.5 miles around this circuit. And I think we'll see some teams that weren't as strong on the dirt maybe be stronger here on the pavement. And that's the beauty of this All-Star Team Challenge.
Yep, certainly is. And we have got a great lineup for this one as well. We've got all the same teams as we saw in the dirt results. For Synergy Sim Racing, we've got Josh Michael Moore representing them. Jake Blackhall for One Performance Racing. Ash Lear for Talk Inc., James Robbie for Gavin Sadler Racing, TTL Esports presented by Jake Maloney, Middle Finger Racing, Daniel Stevens is representing, Nathan Mankey for JP's Sim Shed. Mike Forward, I believe not making an appearance for Progression Racing Australia, but Redback Racing Team, Pace Syndicate and Illusion Motorsport in there as well. Redback presented by Adam Gardner, and of course Bradley Sinning and Stephen Williams as well. So very interesting field for this particular one, and really looking forward to seeing how these guys handle the slipstream. Of course, we've got to remember, as the practice session comes to an end, Homestead Miami Speedway, not one of those ovals where you just turn left and stay in the draft. This thing actually has corners you got to lift off for, that you got to control your car's handling through. It is a very challenging circuit, and it's got progressive banking as well. It is a bit more highly banked up the top than it is at the bottom.
Exactly, that really promotes some too-wide racing through the corners because it means you can hold a bit more of the speed higher up, and sometimes even by yourself you can find more speed just a car's width or so up from the white line. Riding on board now with Jake Blackhall representing One Performance Racing, with 30 seconds left in this practice session before we get to qualifying, which is 5 minutes and 2 laps. So I'm not quite sure who I would pick as my favourite for this, but I think we've got enough names and it's going to be pretty close.
Yeah, certainly. Oval racing, not something that is hugely popular in the mainstream in the Oz NZ community, as we ride on board with Josh Micklemore. Of course, we do have Ann's car and the like representing oval racing here, and there's very good, very fast, consistent and large fields in those championships, but doesn't really get as much publicity as some of our big road racing events, which I think is a bit of a shame, because oval racing certainly can get the blood pumping. One of the most misunderstood disciplines of racing in the world, particularly down here in the Oceanic region. Jake Maloney we're focusing on, getting out there for TTL Esports in his Xfinity Mustang. And Maloney, his form in 2018, as well as last year, 2017, he's been one of those drivers that you want to watch, because if there's anything that exemplifies Jake Maloney, it's consistency and staying out of trouble, which you need in a race like this.
Oh, precisely. Especially with the horror first race that TTL Esports had, the problems for Hewitt. So TTL Esports are really going to be hoping that they can bag some good points in this second race. And by the looks of things, Jake Maloney absolutely on it on his first lap, really giving it some steering input to make it turn, keep the momentum through the corners and get good power off it. He'll have to set a good lap though to get a clean race to give TTL Esports some hope to take the All-Star Team Challenge Cup.
Yeah, certainly. After that dirt race, TTL, they need to really solidify their results here. Jake Maloney's first lap there, a 31.893, and oh, he spins going into turn 1 on a second lap. Ash Lear taking pole position right now. 31.893 is the time to beat. So only 3 drivers setting times there. Bradley Sinney for Pace Syndicate we currently focus on. I'm really interested to see how these guys go, because Pace Syndicate is not a team that is hugely familiar to me. We're seeing a few names in this broadcast that we don't usually see over here at RaceSpot and, of course, at SimSpeed TV as well. So, Stephen Williams, though, actually taking provisional pole there with a scintillating lap. 31.353, 5/10 ahead of James Robbie. How's that?
Yeah, exactly. An event like this is a perfect time for some of these drivers who might be more talented in some more niche, less covered events to really get up and show, yeah, okay, maybe I'm not the best in V8 supercar or GT3 machinery, but boy, can I wheel something around an oval. And Stephen Williams showing that well and truly clear of the rest of the pack right now as qualifying stands.
Yeah, for sure. Now, we do have an update on the points situation here as qualifying continues on. Nathan Mankey slotting in 7th place there, but there's some interesting stuff to come out of this one. One Performance Racing went for the Joker. TTL Esports did as well. So, despite that poor result with Lewis Hewitt, TTL Esports have still brought 28 points away from this one. But One Performance Racing, the clear favourites at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Nominating their double points Joker in the dirt race gives them a very early lead. And while TTL Esports definitely did look strongest on the dirt, they've now gone and used up their Joker in a race where they didn't do so well. Now all of their competition minus OPR are going to have a double points race either here or later. It's going to be so tough now for TTL Esports, but if anyone can do it, gosh, it could be them.
Yeah, certainly could. TTL Esports emerging in the last few years as well, actually, more than the last few years. It's been quite some time now. They've been one of the top racing organizations in the AusNZ SimSphere. I tell you what, drivers like Jake Maloney and the employ of that team, certainly a great place for them. I remember being teammates with Jake Maloney at one point back in the old Dayco Motorsport days, David. Certainly a mature guy. And he's a really good racer as well, so definitely interested to see how they go. We take another look here at the points. Of course, they are now sorted by the number of points. So Middle Finger Racing in 2nd place. Tell you what, that is a very good run for them. With, I believe it was Schultz Racing for them in the dirt race. So, yeah, Middle Finger. Look out for them.
Yeah, if I'm seeing it correctly, it might have been Trent Gosley from Middle Finger Racing taking the win in the first race, but not with the Joker. So, One Performance Racing Zachary Phelan get a very well-timed drive from him there to make his way back up through that field while carrying the Joker. I guess now, though, it's time to focus on race 2, because qualifying is wrapped up, so we'll take a look at that order, Reese.
We certainly will. So, in this particular event here at Homestead, Miami Speedway. The drivers gridding up. Stephen Williams in car 98 taking your pole position, with Josh Mickelmore for Synergy Sim Racing in second, lining up there in his Camaro. Daniel Stevens for Middle Finger Racing in third. Jake Blackhall in fourth for One Performance Racing. Fifth and sixth, this is row 3, James Robbie and Ashley Lear for Gavin Sadler Racing and Talk Inc. respectively. Go through the rest of the field. Brad Sinney for Pace Syndicate. Jake Maloney starting in 8th place. He'll have a very good draft. Will he be able to make use of it? And finally, we have Nathan Mankey for JP's Sim Shed. 1.2 seconds around an oval like this. That's quite the gap, but if he can just hang on to the rest of that draft train, Nathan might be able to make something of this.
Exactly. Lots to play for in this race. Draft will still play some effect. We see how costly that qualifying mistake was for Maloney and TTL Esports. He shouldn't have too much trouble though if he's got race pace making his way back up through the field, as the pace car leaves some nice burnouts leaving the pit lane as well.
Certainly does. I mean, the iRacing first pace car driver probably doesn't get much of an opportunity to light them up, leave a couple of 11s down the racetrack, so might as well unleash that Boss V8 in the Mustang.
Yeah, precisely. So going down the back stretch, and soon that pace car will pull in and the field will be under the control of our leader, and it will be time to go racing at Homestead Miami Speedway.
So Stephen Williams going to be leading the field away here. He will have the inside line. You get a really good idea of what the banking is like from that onboard on the safety car. Looks pretty consistent, but the banking is actually slightly more extreme up towards the top of the circuit. Pace car pulls in. Field is under the control of Stephen Williams. 9 cars. We are going green. Goodness me. Have a look at that on the outside. Looks to me like everyone decided to get a good jump there. They're going to go 3 wide through turn 1. Careful, guys. 4 wide almost.
For a second there, they were 3 wide, 2 deep. Everyone wanting to make up some positions.
This is really intense right now on this first lap. This is a 45-lap event here. We're riding on board with Jake Blackhall. You can see he's just lifting off slightly coming into these corners. Doesn't want to get into the back of Jake Maloney in front of him. You see he's making that high line almost work. You see he gets that real momentum coming off the turn 2 banking. That's the thing, like, it seems like the optimum line is to just go for the inside at the apex, but it doesn't really work out here at Homestead. Williams continuing to hold the lead here, but he is definitely facing a lot of pressure right now from number 66, Daniel Stevens.
Yeah, indeed. I watched the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series race here, and in those machinery, they definitely like to stay a little bit high of the inside to carry the momentum, but Jake Maloney doesn't like to because he's gone to the inside there, lost a little bit of his run. I think that's the One Performance Racing car up high keeps going, and now the Talk Inc. car, a lot better run as well. They go side by side down the main straight into turn 1.
Yeah, and Ash Lear is going to have the optimum line here. I think Jake Maloney running all the way down to the apron. I don't know if that's going to help him much here. He needs to be in the middle of the track. Have a look at Williams and Stevens up in the front, though. They are going hell for leather at the moment. Car 31 going for it on the 66. So Stevens in a bit of trouble here. Going 2 wide,
no
2 by 2 down the front straight.
So a 45-lap race, and it doesn't look like the leader is able to bolt away. This will stay a pretty close pack, I'm hoping, because right now it's giving us some great racing as they go 3 wide.
Egan's in trouble. Oh, we got a car off there. Yeah. Goodness me, that's not good. Nathan Mankey into the wall in the background. Yeah. That is rather huge, and he has lost a lot of momentum there. We're going to take a look at a replay here, see just what happened to Nathan. Looks like, yeah, he just got into that slide coming off the turn and wasn't able to recover it. He was able to keep it out of the wall, though. Very good.
Yeah, very good. So the racing stays green. He stays on track, but he's lost touch with this pack. Where everyone's very, very close together indeed. There's a replay once again of that 3-wide moment. Daniel Stevens mobbed on the inside, mobbed on the outside, but the Middle Finger Racing car lives to race another day.
Yeah, well, Stevens, you could tell right off the start, he was quite comfortable in that Camaro. Will want to get onto the front very, very soon. But have a look up the front. Josh Micklemore and Stephen Williams going side by side here. Williams with a little bit of a better exit, but Micklemore is really putting the pressure on him right now.
Yep, absolutely. Making that inside line work better than we thought. Taking the shorter route, but still not quite, or this time just getting enough run off the corner to get clear, but running a little bit high, maybe having to get out of the throttle that time.
Yeah, I saw a car going off there as well. That was the Pace Syndicate car of Bradley Sinney having troubles out of turn 2, I believe. So they've unfortunately gotten off on the back foot. You see how far behind Maloney is too. Definitely this front pack, they stand the best chances here, but if there's ever a big incident, Maloney really stands to gain from a safety car, if there is one.
Yep, indeed, precisely. I don't think we're expecting any pit stops in this one, are we, though, Reese?
No, I wouldn't say so. This race is only 45 laps, so I would expect there to not be a pit stop in this one.
Well, in that case, some of these drivers definitely going to have to think about their tyre life on the longer stint, because some of them definitely using up that tyre life for track position early in the race. It could come back and bite them potentially.
Yeah, certainly could. That's one thing that really comes into account here, as you see Ash Lear battling quite hard. Lear is off. The yellow flag is out. So that is the lifeline that the likes of Maloney, Sinney and Mankey needed. Goodness me, going straight to a replay of that one. What happened here between Ash Lear and the number 97, sorry.
Tried to, I think, cut back inside, make the crossover work, but he just wasn't quite clear, and he's given a bump to Ash Lear right there in the middle of the corner. Then a second one for good measure, third one, fourth one, and but at that point there wasn't really anywhere for Jake Blackhall to go once Ash Lear had started that slide.
And that is a real shame for Ash Lear there. Unfortunately, not much that he could have done there either, because the way that this works is really need to be careful through that mid corner. And you see the drivers going straight for the pits here. The entire field is going into the pits to get some new tires, fresh rubber on those cars.
Yeah, exactly. With the safety car, the pace car out there, I think that's probably the right call for almost all of these guys. A lot of them were definitely using up that tyre life, and you'd be a fool to stay out with a pack of guys with new tyres behind you. They would absolutely eat you up. So I think even if you're leading the pack, the correct decision is a new set of boots, with going on 33 laps of racing still to go.
Yes, indeed. Just come to the start of lap 12 here. I think this is a good opportunity here for the drivers, because it really resets everything that we've had in this race so far. Micklemore, the first out of the pits, and actually got quite a jump there. Unsure of the shuffling throughout the pits. Nathan Mankey actually out before any of his competitors. Sinney, Robbie and Lear both coming out behind, and Jake Maloney, that is very surprising there. He's actually come out far behind.
I'm not sure if he was carrying any damage, but he might have just taken the opportunity to get some panels pushed out or something, and maybe Mankey only took right-hand side tyres. That's a possibility to do if you want to minimise your pit stop time. I'm not sure Maloney would have taken fuel, though.
Yeah, I'm certainly unsure of that. I mean, having a look at the chassis of these things, yeah, it's hard to say whether or not they would need a little bit of extra fuel, maybe a splash and dash towards the end. But I suppose we'll find out towards the end of this one.
Lights are off on that pace car. It'll be coming into the pit lane this time, and it will be time to go racing once again. Will we go green to the end? Let's find out very shortly.
Indeed, we will. They've got the back stretch to go here at Homestead. Of course, this track wasn't always a true oval. It was actually built as a rectangular oval, sort of mini Indianapolis with flatter banking. But unfortunately, it did not bode well for racing or safety, so it was modified in the late 1990s. I believe the current spec of the oval dates from 1998 to 2000, something like that, is when it was built. So we've got a very well-established oval here. So Stephen Williams, unfortunately, not able to get the jump on Josh Micklemore off the start. Micklemore leading now into turn one. And have a look on the inside. That's Daniel Stevens going for it. But Williams having the outside, having that momentum. But Micklemore out in front.
We're going to go too wide, too deep back there in the middle of the pack. Let's see how that one works out. But Jake Maloney still not having a good race of it. Second to last position.
Yeah, Maloney, that's very unfortunate for him. And Ash Lear in trouble still. He's facing quite the pressure from Bradley Sinney, but Sinney pulls out of it coming into the turns. Getting a bit awkward there in the mid-pack. Jake Blackhall carrying some front-end damage from when he made contact with Lear. Obviously not electing to fix it in the pit stops. I think that may be impacting his straight-line speed slightly because Stevens is right on it. Just not able to get that mid-corner momentum going.
Yep, how you carry the speed through the middle of the corner. So important in these cars that don't have a whole lot for downforce and have plenty of power. So just how they maybe use the brake, how they lift out of the throttle and how they roll back into it. Absolutely critical for driving this kind of car around a 1.5 mile track like this.
Absolutely is. They are continuing to go side by side as they come through turns 3 and 4. This is really helping Lear. Tell you what, if he manages to stay out of trouble for the foreseeable future, Lear could really benefit from this. The Torque Inc guys do love their oval racing. We'll see what Lear can do, but that top two are starting to break away. These guys back in the pack are starting to trip over each other a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. After the race start, the pack stayed really close together. But after our too wide restart, this fighting here between Blackhall, between Lear and these guys, it is letting those top two get just a little bit of a breather.
Yeah, it definitely is. These guys going line astern coming into turn 1, and Daniel Stevens continuing to try and run that lower line. Obviously, he is comfortable up there, but... oh, is that Williams in the wall? No, not Williams. My apologies. Stevens.
I didn't see anything myself, but it's certainly easy to graze the wall on the outside here, trying to get that powered down. There's a few scuffs on that one performance racing car, but it still seems to be working, and that's the moral of the story of the racing we've seen so far tonight.
Yeah, it certainly is. I think another moral is definitely drink 2 coffees before you start your debut broadcast on Race Spot so you don't forget the names of drivers.
Yeah, certainly helpful. But watching on board with Cine, he's deeper in this pack for Race Syndicate, but still keeping with them. And we're not at halfway yet. A lot could still be gained by that driver.
Yeah, for sure. Cine right on the back of James Robbie here. And is that a car slow off turn 2? It is. That is Jake Blackhole continuing to run into issues. Oh, going for that middle line. They almost made contact there. Robbie's going to go through here on the inside. Blackhole in big trouble right now.
Exactly. I'm not sure what's happening, but that thing is definitely looking slow, and now he's going to lose the position as well to Cini. You would have to think that maybe he'll get the pace back together. It's starting to struggle on those tyres potentially. This is an open setup race, so all these teams will be running their own setups, and some will have setups that might be quick out of the box, but a little bit hard on those tyres. Looks like a sunny day. I'm sure the track is quite hot as well.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure it is actually. The track is 40 degrees Celsius, and it's only partly cloudy out there today, so the track definitely getting heated up by the rays of the sun at the moment. Ashley Lear going for it almost on Daniel Stevens. Tell you what, Lear's form since the restart has been quite impressive.
Yep, certainly, and he's looking after those tyres potentially as well, because he got a very good run off a lower line in turn 2. Stays pretty high through 3 and 4 this time, but definitely sizing up Daniel Stevens and hoping to get through soon, I would imagine. Again, he's going to duck down lower out of turn 2 than what most people do. Gets a pretty good run of it there as well. Maybe we'll see him look to the inside of turn 3 later on.
It's an interesting dichotomy you see with the lines drivers take around here. Lear obviously going for that lower one, Stevens staying up a bit higher, but at a track like this, you either go the Lear line, stay low and straighten out the exit, or you try the Stevens method, which is to stay high and almost use the top of the banking on exit as a ramp to shoot you down the back straight. Both approaches can work. And it seems to me that Lear just biding his time there behind Daniel Stevens. Cork Inc. versus Middle Finger Racing. This is certainly a fight that will be interesting coming into the last couple of races, because Cork Inc., they stand to gain from this one. Middle Finger Racing looking to maintain what is
actually does get some overlap though in turn 2, but doesn't get the run out. You were making very good points about the broader championship. They were almost going wheel to wheel, closer than they have for a little while just then.
Yeah, certainly. My apologies. Lear, you can see he's definitely got those exits sorted, but it's so difficult to gain a little bit of momentum through these turns. Once again, you see that dual line dichotomy at work. Once again, Stevens using the ramp down the back stretch. It's a slingshot. Lear, meanwhile, trying to maintain a bit of momentum through the corners, trying to keep that apex speed up. Seems like actually staying a bit higher through the last couple of turns, but he is still trying that lower line through turns 1 and 2. Oh, yeah.
And they're too wide behind there as well. James Robbie's having to defend from Cini. Cini's looking very racy after the restart as well. He goes to the inside, turns 1 and 2 this time, and they're going to be side by side once again. It's that Camry versus the Mustang, but Cini doesn't quite get as much of a run off that time. He's definitely not afraid of trying a move, that's for sure.
Oh, certainly. And I think Cini, he's been one of the more careful racers in this particular event. He's backed out of moves coming into turn 1, I've noticed quite a few times in this one. See, he's going to go for a move here, but I don't know if he's going to maintain it. Well, actually, the devil, he is going to maintain it. So he ends up moving in front now. James Robbie is now going to be staring at the back of a Mustang for the next few laps.
Certainly seems like it. Looks like he got just too hot into turns 1 and 2, trying to carry the momentum high, and just lost the run going up too high. And now it's a great move by Cini. I'm not sure, but maybe he can catch up to this battle for third, Daniel Stevens and Ashley Lear. Ashley are not quite as close as he had been previous laps though, Reese.
Yeah, he's actually fallen off the back of Stevens a little bit there. Maybe just getting into the dirty air behind the 66 made Lear scrub his front tyres a little bit. Maybe he thought he'd be better off just staying a bit further behind, looking after his tyres, seeing if they can come to him towards the end. But Cini, you notice, you are very right there, David. He is getting a bit pacier as time goes on. Might have to watch out for him come the last few laps. We're on lap 30 right now, coming up to start lap 31. Laps are flying by, and time is running out for these drivers to make moves.
Yep, precisely. So, overall, reasonable race so far for Talk Inc. Middle Finger Racing, though, in the broader championship, emerging as a bit of a dark horse.
Yeah, 100%. No, backed up by that very strong win on the dirt ovals, and very much backing it up here with currently running in third place. It'll be interesting to see what Middle Finger can do when they have to start turning right.
Yeah, precisely. And Middle Finger Racing didn't use their joker in the first race either. So if they've used it here and they've doubled their points for a third place finish, that wouldn't be bad. Or maybe they're saving for even later as he gets into the wall on the outside. James Robbie will get through, gets a little bit of a tap, but Bradley Cini from Pace Syndicate losing out pretty big time there. We're going to get a replay of that one because that was big contact with the wall and then a little tap from James Robbie as well. Fantastic camera angle right here.
Excellent stuff. You can see the sparks flying off the wall. What an angle. That's fantastic. And you see that, oh, goodness me. Yeah, a bit of contact between those two as well. Quite well held there by James Robbie, I have to say.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit of wiggle, but that crunch on the inside wall, very, very hard for Cini. So, unfortunately, that's put him a long way back. Stevens still holding off Ashley Lear and opening up the gap just a tenth or so on the last lap.
They will have 11 laps to go when they cross the line next. So Stevens currently doing everything right here, and Lear, you can see the sector times down there on the bottom of the screen. Lear 200 slower on 31, 2/10 slower on 32, but only 3,000 slower on 33. So he's starting to get a little bit of pace back, it seems. Actually, have a look at him now. He is starting to creep back up to the back of Daniel Stevens.
Yeah, the body language of Daniel Stevens' car coming off turn 4 that time. He had a little bit of a wiggle. Maybe the right rear tyre starting to go away. Certainly you'd think the right front is one of the ones that would wear out pretty early, throwing it through these turns. But maybe the rear tyres now also starting to suffer.
Yeah, and you can already see the sector split down there now. Lear gained 0.163 on lap 34. That's a pretty insane jump from what he was doing before. Of course, goes back to losing nearly all of that gained time, save for 1,000th of a second. But there's
something
a good
happened
point
with our leaders that these guys are now scored second and third, not third and fourth.
Ah, yeah, interesting. Yeah, Micklemore. Problems for Josh Micklemore. Oh no, he's had a technical issue. Very unfortunate. Absolutely. Through no fault of a driving mistake, he is out of this one. And Synergy Sim Racing, oh, they are going to be absolutely fuming in that camp.
No doubt. So similar issues, though, affected PTL, to my memory, in the first race. So not all is lost for either of those teams, but it definitely does help out these guys we see on screen here. Ash Lear from Talk Inc., Daniel Stevens from Middle Finger Racing. they are elevated one position to now be second and third on our podium as it stands with about 7 laps to go.
Yep, and if Middlefinger have elected to use up their joker in this one, certainly would be a good opportunity to do it. Remember, they do have to notify the race administrator before they race whether or not they're electing to take their joker points haul. They can't get a good result and then decide, oh, we'll just make it the joker. No, not allowed. So really depends on whether you can make the best of a bad situation in a situation like that.
Precisely. So it would be an event that the teams think that they would have an advantage at, that they'd be strong at, and take those double points option. But if it doesn't stick for them in that race, then they've thrown away a big opportunity. So it's one thing we'll keep an eye on, especially as we get towards the last race of this team's challenge. It'll keep the points tally interesting and people in mathematical contention definitely all the way to the final race.
Yeah, it certainly will. Jake Maloney, meanwhile, has retired from this one, so that is probably TTL Esports in major trouble here. Definitely plenty to race for in the honour stakes coming into the third and fourth races of Rallycross and Formula Renault at Phillip Island. But having already used their joker and now another potential DNF in this race, boy, that's not looking good for them. No, certainly not. So it really helps teams like Middlefinger and Talking. We're focusing, though, on Jake Blackhall and Nathan Mankey right now. Mankey has really turned it up in these last few stages of the race. Have a look at those sector splits versus Blackhall. Yep, either the damage on Jake Blackhall's car is starting to affect him, or his tyres have well and truly gone off. And I think it might be the latter one, because he just cannot get any run off the final corner, and Mankey just gets right on through. Didn't even need an invitation. The door was wide open. Yeah, excellent job there from Nathan Mankey. And it's all about being there at the end, and I guess that really proves it there. Mankey now up. Blackhall, though, is at risk of losing another one. Yeah, he certainly is. Sini is right there and ready to take that position. Doesn't have many opportunities left. They are going to have 2 laps to go next time by, but have a look at the lack of pace that Blackhall has. He is really struggling in that number 97 One Performance Racing Camaro. He is dropping like a stone. Even with the issues that Sini had, he's definitely visually closing this gap rather quickly, and especially through turns 3 and 4, you watch Jake Blackhall's car, and in the middle, it just doesn't want to turn. He's up there high, and he just can't get the car to turn down, and you see he has to get out of the throttle to not hit the outside wall. That costs him momentum hugely. Yeah, it certainly does. Real shame there for Jake Blackhall, but currently coming around to start his final lap for Illusion Motorsport, Stephen Williams. How good has the form been from this guy? He is way out in front. He has stayed out of trouble. He has been able to win from pole position. This is certainly one of the best drives we've seen. Yep, he's so good we haven't spent a whole lot of time talking about him, but Illusion Motorsports were 5th in that championship coming into this race. Definitely this win is going to help them. And if they knew that they had a strong setup, if they knew they had a strong driver, they might well have put their joker on Stephen Williams, and he will take the checkered flag and maximum points. That's a very, very good race number 2 from Illusion Motorsports. Yes, indeed. And Daniel Stevens managing to hold off Ashley Lear's advances there to take 2nd place. Very good results from quite a few teams. Lear making his way up to 3rd from 6th, and Nathan Mankey, starting last, will end up with a top 5 from this one. So, great run from him.
Yep, and our championship leaders coming into this, One Performance Racing. Well, Jake Blackhole didn't quite have the race he would have wanted, though I think we might be going to see some celebratory donuts here, and exactly that is what has been ordered, and boy do they look good.
Well deserved as well. Stephen Williams taking a fantastic win there for Illusion Motorsport. That Camry is looking especially beautiful to those guys right now in that Illusion Motorsport livery. So as Stephen Williams continues to lay down those thick black stripes on the tarmac, have a look at our official race results here from Homestead Miami Speedway. Stephen Williams taking the win by 2.7 seconds from Daniel Stevens for Middle Finger Racing. Ashley for Talking completing the podium. James Robbie holding on to finish 4th. Nathan Mankey with that late race charge to finish 5th from last. Jake Blackhole, what a shame for him. Certainly not the race that One Performance would have wanted after the Dirt Oval round. And Brad Seeney, 4 laps down. Unfortunate for him. And our retirements, Josh Micklemore and Jake Maloney.
Yep, exactly. So, pretty poor race there from Synergy Sim Racing and TTL Esports. And I'm not sure it was their fault for either of those teams. But what we will do is we'll probably go to a break now, won't we, Chris?
We certainly will, but don't go away. We have 2 more races coming up, and this time the drivers will start moving in a right-hand direction. We're going to race Rallycross next up at Phoenix. We're going to be in the Volkswagen Beetle Rallycross car, and we have got some absolutely fantastic drivers, some big names competing in this one. Don't go away. You're watching the All-Star Team Challenge on RaceSpotTV.
Heading down towards the Parabolica, and we're getting all set for the start of 3 hours of racing around Monza here, and certainly going to be a good race. We're waiting for the green light. The green flag doesn't drop yet. It's down the line. Now the green flag comes out. Away we go then. 3 hours underway here at Monza as they head down towards Rettifilio to start with. You're going 3-4 wide further down your field. Hopefully everyone gets themselves sorted out as they head in to turn number 1 now. This first chicane, so easy to make contact around here. We've got a car spun, and we've got more to...
outside wall.
He's gonna pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's gonna get them all done with. What amazing
Race lead to the inside goes Logan Cloudman is gonna touch in. Pit press sideways. What a save!
Look to the outside as Kroenke goes off. De Jong into second place.
Going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
Is howling down to the inside.
I tried, there's contact though.
slide left of the racetrack. Chris Benner drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact.
He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cutback here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Michael Schumacher, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
Before you can get on track, you'll need to calibrate your wheel and pedal set. You'll need to do this in iRacing even if you have already done this using your own controller software. Prior to entering the sim, make sure you've downloaded and installed the latest drivers from the manufacturer's website. Once that's done, follow these easy steps to calibrate your controller. We recommend calibrating in a test session, so pick a car and then click test. Don't go into a practice or official session. The last thing you want to do is have you go on track and crash into another car. Once you're in your test session, click on the options button. You'll then see input calibration. This is where your calibration takes place. Start by clicking on the steering button. You will then be prompted to turn your wheel fully one direction and then another. Make sure you place your wheel back into its centering position before hitting done. Now, you'll be asked to turn your wheel 90 degrees to the left. Make sure it's at 90 and hold it there while hitting done. For pedals, click on the pedals button. Here you'll be asked to press the throttle all the way down and then release it. You'll do the same for the brake and clutch pedal if you have one. For the gearbox, you'll first be asked to set buttons for sequential shifting. Once complete, a prompt will ask if you have a H pattern shifter. If not, hit no. If yes, click it and you'll begin to map the gears individually. Once you've completed these steps, you are calibrated and ready to go racing.
RaceSpotTV proud to present once again the All-Star Teams Challenge. Matchup of teams from the Australia-New Zealand sim racing community. Who is the most versatile? Sometimes who is the luckiest, as we've seen in the past 2 races here. But we move on to the Rallycross section of this night of racing. Reese Gardiner is the voice you were hearing at the moment, joined by David Haynes, and we are indeed at Phoenix International Raceway. David, this track, I absolutely adore this. It is a fictional Rallycross layout, but I tell you what, the iRacing development team have certainly nailed the layout.
Oh, it's definitely very, very good fun with a very tricky jump and a joker that gets you a lot of time, and that really opens up all of the Rallycross strategy and all of the Rallycross setup and talent. It's a great layout for showing who's got chops and who doesn't in this kind of motorsport.
Yeah, for sure. It's an interesting format we've got here for this one. It's your regular 10-minute practice, 5-minute quali with 2 laps available to the drivers, but we've got a 16-lap race here with 2 Joker laps and a standing start as well, as you would expect from a Rallycross event. So it's longer than what you usually see on the iRacing service, but with 2 Jokers in the one race, certainly the strategy is going to be thrown up.
Yep, there's plenty of that. And like I said, this is a Rallycross layout with a jump that's very, very difficult. You're turning as you come into the jump, and then you land, and you've got to turn. But our point standings have been updated after race number 2. And what we can see there is the ones in purple are the Joker points, teams that elected to have their points doubled for that particular round. And we see that only Synergy Sim Racing took that option on the oval race. So the maximum points there going to Illusion Motorsport, lifting them up into 4th place on equal points with Synergy Sim Racing. Middle Finger Racing have 2nd, but One Performance Racing still lead.
Yes, indeed. And I tell you what, Synergy Sim Racing with Josh Micklemore's technical issues, unfortunately putting him out of the running in that oval race, that has really hurt Synergy. They have wasted their Joker effectively. So they will have to try and make the best of a bad situation here with Rallycross. But with Bob King at the wheel of their Volkswagen Beetle, they've certainly got a good chance of getting a good result here.
Yeah, precisely. We might take a look at who is in which cars, because what we've got is, for Synergy Sim Racing, we've got Bob King. For One Performance Racing, Scotty Harris will be wheeling their Rallycross mobile. Gavin Sadler Racing has Robert Northway. JP Simshed have Tristan Yelland. TTL Esports have the one, the only, Josh Rogers. That's definitely going to be one to watch for them. TTL Esports haven't had a good start, but this is an opportunity they could take some big points. Middle Finger Racing have Brett Garretts. Illusion Motorsport with Michael Skurlock for this one. And Redback Racing have Harley Haber. And Pace Syndicate with Kyle Stevens.
Yes, indeed. That is certainly an interesting lineup from a lot of those teams. Tell you what, the spotlight, I think, will be on the likes of Josh Rogers and Bob King at the moment. Mitch McLeod also in the server right now for Talk Inc. And those 3 definitely ones to watch out for, but we could see a surprise from the likes of Haber, etc. Haber, a recent signing for Redback Racing Team, and it will be interesting to see how he does in this one.
Yeah, precisely. It's like you said in the previous races, a team that's made definitely some progress this year. So if they've got a good setup for this, it's definitely a great opportunity.
Yes, indeed. So we will wait for the last 20 seconds of this practice session to eventuate, and then we'll move into the qualifying session. And a qualifying lap in a Rallycross machine, certainly a sight to behold. You still have all of the usual limitations. Of course, you cannot hit a wall, you cannot get any contacts or off tracks, but off tracks in Rallycross is a bit of a non-issue, I think you could say, apart from a few select locations on this circuit.
Yeah, precisely. What you will really lose from going off track is not collecting an off track, but all the time you would lose straying far enough from the racing circuit that it would even give you one. Tyre bundles on the apex of all the corners is really what enforces this. As we're now in the qualifying session, we're going to see who will put down a quick time.
Yes, indeed. We're currently focused on Bob King at the moment as he takes the Joker on his outlap, getting a good run out of this final sweeping turn at Phoenix is key. getting a good lap time. Struggling to put the power down on the dirt, but here we go. A lap on board. Phoenix's Rallycross layout with Bob King. A curved braking zone to start the lap off. Very difficult to get the car turned in there. And now, he nice and tight into the inside walls. Over the jump Bob King goes. Will he avoid those tyre bundles? Yes, he will. Very well-controlled jump. Sideways coming into this dirt section of the track. And now he just needs to try and maintain as much momentum as he possibly can. Get that power down nicely. Straighten out the exit. And he's going to go across the line to set a 36.719 for his first run at a lap. And I don't know if that is going to be a second one. Did he hit the tyre bundle?
Not 100% sure. Looks like he's definitely still going for it though. So another time comes in from Kyle Stevens, but it doesn't challenge Bob King's 36.7. That's standing very well clear as more times come in. Mitchell McLeod for Talk Inc. goes second. Robert Northway grabs third. And now Josh Rogers sets his first time, but it's not enough for Bob King.
Yeah, certainly not. Josh Rogers is going to have another stab at that. And that number 92 machine, as we continue to ride on board with Mitch McLeod, he is absolutely sideways in that latter part of the lap. Very nicely straightening out the exit though. So in that Volkswagen Beetle, he looks to have it sorted out. That's a 37.5 for him at the moment. Though unfortunately not able to improve much on that. Bob King continues to hold the top of this one. So I'm interested to see what Rogers can do on his second lap if he is still on it.
And regardless, the way that these races start, it's almost 3 wide. So if you're in the top 3, I think there's only a slight advantage to having pole position regardless. Eyes on Josh Rogers now. I'm not sure if he did or will get a second lap in, but he's certainly out there in that Volkswagen Beetle, and it's looking pretty good in those orange TTL colours.
It certainly is. And, you know, track time is king in these Rallycross machines. Of course, you have set up making a bit of a difference, but at the same time, it is your driving technique that really seals the deal in these things. Bob King has it sorted, as does Josh Rogers. They are currently very far ahead of the rest of the field here, so looks like it may be Synergy Sim Racing versus TTL at the front, but Mitch McLeod starting on that front row for Talk Inc. He is definitely going to have a good chance coming into that sweeping opening complex. We are still following Josh Rogers though as he makes his way around the circuit.
Yeah, a great oval race. Potentially, it was a great oval race for Illusion Motorsports, but their driver in this one, Michael Skurlock, has not set a time yet. I believe he is out on track, but if they want a tilt at this team's championship, Michael Skurlock's going to have to put in a pretty good time or have a very good race if he's going to have to start from the back.
Yes, indeed. Michael Skurlock just crossed the line there to set his time. It's a 40.517, and that is dead last for Skurlock. 2 seconds behind Kyle Stevens, and he looks to have a bit of damage on that car as well. So Skurlock obviously not having the best of times out there.
Yep. Driving on dirt, very, very difficult in these machines, and it's a bit of throttle control. The driving technique really shows a difference in how quickly you can make this car move on the dirt.
Yes, indeed. And it's the way you handle the dirt that is going to define your success in this event. Well, the checkered flag is out. We are now gridding. This is going to be your grid for this third round of the All-Star Team Challenge. Starting on the first row, Bob King and Josh Rogers, along with Mitch McLeod in third place. Robert Northway for Gavin Sadler Racing, starting in fourth, with Scotty Harris, One Performance Racing's candidate, in fifth. Brett Geratz for Middle Finger Racing in sixth. Rounding out the field, we have Kyle Stevens and Michael Skurlock. Rounding out your 8-car grid here. They all start in the absolute closest of quarters here. We'll wait to see what everyone does here as the short gridding period goes
and it's
down.
Tristan Yelland from JP's Sim Shed that we're missing from this race. So JP's Sim Shed, with no driver in the session or taking the grid for this one, that's going to be costly indeed for them, but we're still going to have a very good race with 8 cars that we've got, and so close between Bob King and Josh Rogers. It's going to be one to watch. We've got 30 seconds, I believe, before we will get the green flag, because our race administrator is in the session, but of course not taking to the grid.
Yes, and here at Phoenix, the run up to turns 1 and 2 is very critical. And a lot of cars going into that one kink that opens the lap here. You know, we've done some Rallycross races, David. We know what the stakes are coming into turn 1, and if you make contact with another car in turn 1, it's going to be ugly, as the green flag is going to fly very shortly. First standing start of the night here. Green flag flies, and away they go. So it looks like Josh Rogers got a good jump. How about Scotty Harris, though? He's going to try and take the outside and take third here. But Josh Rogers, a little bit of a slide. Mitch McLeod holding on to third. Almost contact between himself and Scotty Harris. Who is going to go for the Joker? It's going to be Harris, along with King and Rogers. They are battling hard there at the front as the rest of the field takes that jump in the background. So let's see what they can do as they come up to start lap 2 of this 16-lap race. Remember, they will have to take another Joker after this one, your top 3. So Mitch McLeod, it'll be interesting to see what he can do. Rogers, though, really pressuring King here, taking a nice wide entry into that turn 2. They are right on the back of each other, battling very hard here. They're going to take both of their Jokers to start off this one. King. Oh no, King! Goodness me, that is a very spectacular crash there for King. And he is on his side. Oh, that's someone else taking the Joker there, avoiding King, thankfully, but looks to me like King just losing the rear end there and hitting that concrete wall. There is nothing but pain awaiting you if you do.
Yeah, the pressure from Josh Rogers just getting to Bob King, and just like a real-life Beetle, once it's on its back, it can't get back on its feet without any help. So that's just about race done for Bob King.
Yes, indeed. Real shame for Synergy Sim Racing there. They had an incredibly good chance to get some fantastic points hauls here, but Bob King back in the pits there. He will not be returning to the track. We currently ride on board with Brett Duratz for Middle Finger Racing as he makes his way along to start his 4th lap, my apologies. I'll tell you what, he has ended up doing very well in these opening laps. He's just holding on, but it looks like he may be facing pressure from, I think that's Robert Northway.
Yep, that's how I'm seeing it as well. Maybe just 0.8 of a second gap between those two. Rallycross is one of those disciplines, though, where if you just stay out of trouble, you'll typically gain some positions or two, but he goes rather deep into that final complex of corners, and Robert Northway gains hugely, gets a nose up the inside, better run off the corner. He'll have the inside for the kink before the hairpin. They're side by side, very close stuff, but he gets it done right before the kink. Or does he? Because Brett throws it back down to the inside, and now it's Robert Northway's time to go deep. Great racing between these two for 4th position, Reese.
Well done, crisscross from Brett Duratz as Robert Northway goes for the Joker in response. I think he's realised he's in too close quarters for this early on in the race, so he just gets his Joker done, gets in front of Brett, and he'll have some clear air to try and get some good lap times down.
but Mitch McLeod doesn't have any clear air behind Scotty Harris because they are right up on each other for second place. I'm not aware of the Joker situation, who's taken how many, but if they've both taken all of their Jokers or taken the same number, then this is a very close battle for position. Some great points on offer in second place here, and quite a few of the teams haven't used their series Joker for double points yet. Could it be either of these teams? A lot of strategy going on in this race and more broadly in the championship race.
Yes, indeed. That is a stray tyre bundle there in the background. That is not going to bode well for a couple of guys, but Michael Skurlock and Kyle Stevens fighting for P6 and P7. Skurlock well ahead at the moment. It seems that a top 6 definitely on the cards here for Illusion Motorsports in this round. Coming off a bit of a high, winning the oval round. Mitch McLeod taking a Joker there. So that will likely, it has put him in front of Scotty Harris. So Mitch McLeod looking good here for Talking.
Yep, exactly. Pretty consistent run, being elevated by those issues from Bob King, but Josh Rogers, who we know has taken both of his Jokers already, well and truly clear, 5 seconds, and maybe building that gap. Mitchell McLeod pulling a little bit on Scotty Harris as well, though, so we're just about to hit halfway in this race when Josh Rogers crosses the finish line next.
And it's a very typical Josh Rogers drive that we're seeing here at the moment. Rogers, of course, if you're internationally inclined, you know Josh Rogers driving for Burst Esports in the World Championship Grand Prix Series, but Rogers certainly famous in the AusNZ iRacing community for some very dominant drives and doing very well at the moment. Robert Northway, though, we are focusing on versus Brett Geratz. In fact, it is Geratz we are focusing on. My apologies. Getting them mixed up once again, David. Pretty typical for me, but these guys are still battling very closely.
Yeah, and that middle finger racing car took half a second out of Robert Northway last time around. That's what's closed up the gap. On this lap, I think it's stretched out a little bit, but you know, if Brett Geratz can get some more good laps in, he might be able to close that gap. And I don't know if he's still got a Joker in his pocket. Most of them, most of our drivers have used theirs already, but it's very close. Any mistake from Robert Northway could elevate Brett Geratz into 4th position. And indeed, that's exactly what happened. Wow.
If commentators cursed him, David, you owe him an apology.
I am a horrible person. I'm sorry, Robert Northway. And also, my shout-outs have to go to Tristan Yelland, who isn't in this race because unfortunately he's in the hospital with pneumonia today.
Oh,
but
my
he's watching.
goodness.
So a shout-out to him, and I hope you get better soon, mate.
Yeah, certainly. Tristan, known as Tristo here in the community, he has had many struggles over recent months. He is struggling with treatment for motor neuron disease, is Tristo Yelland. So you're in our thoughts and prayers, Mr. Yelland, and hopefully he does get the moral and financial support that he needs to help him out with that treatment, and we wish you a speedy recovery, Mr. Yelland.
I'm hearing from Ash Lear, though, that Mitchell McLeod might not have put enough fuel in his car for this race.
Oh dear. Well, if that is indeed the case, then Mitch McLeod is indeed in trouble, and we could see Scotty Harris getting another good result for One Performance Racing. We'll have to keep our eyes trained on Mitch McLeod as this race comes to a close. We are on lap 13, so the next 3 laps are going to be critical. These cars, they have 4-cylinder turbocharged engines producing oodles of power through a 4-wheel drive system, so they do consume quite a bit of fuel, do these Rallycross machines.
They are surprisingly thirsty, that is absolutely correct, making upwards of 600 horsepower very easily. Lots of turbo means lots of fuel consumption, but the stop-start nature of a rallycross circuit, if you know, you can probably save quite a bit of fuel without giving up too much pace. The buffer that Mitchell McLeod's got, if he's smart about it, he might be able to get it home, but definitely this is going to be one to watch with just 2.5 laps to go for these fellas.
Yes, indeed. Josh Rogers untroubled out the front, but we still focus on Mitch McLeod. And was that a crashing sound I heard in my in-sim feed? I think someone had a bit of an appointment with a tyre bundle.
Nothing in my ear, but definitely the gaps have closed up for 4th through to 6th position a little bit. Robert Northway still behind Brett Gretz. Might have been Michael Scarlett, I'm not sure, Reese. They all appear to still be in the order they were. As Kyle Stevens takes his last joker on the previous lap, and that's what had closed him up to Brett Gretz and Robert Northway.
Yes, indeed, Robert Northway still struggling with the exit of that jump, but our leader is on his final lap, and Josh Rogers, I think it just goes to show, as per usual, some of these guys are so dominant we barely give them any airtime at all, but Josh Rogers for TTL Esports, this is the result that TTL needed out of tonight, and Josh Rogers, the man to do it. He is going to take absolutely dominant victory here in the Rallycross section of the All-Star Team Challenge.
Yep, and we'll know later. Oh, actually, no, in fact, TTL Esports have already used their joker. If I was in their team management, I'd be tempted to put it on Josh Rogers, but it's still very close. Robert Northway and Brett Gretz.
Oh! Goodness me! Brett Gretz getting into the tyre bundle at the final hurdle. And you know what? Well-calculated move from Robert Northway, because he had just taken his joker there on the final lap, recovering. But Brett Gretz, unfortunately, coming a cropper in those last couple of turns. You can see right there on the replay, Northway scything his way past, but unfortunately not getting the cleanest run through the last couple of turns. He will hold on, though.
Those poor tyre bundles, 2 of them getting a clipping from a Volkswagen Beetle on the final lap, and it looks like Brett just got unsighted potentially behind Robert Northway's car. And a very good recovery, I have to say, from Robert Northway after also getting tangled in the tyre bundles earlier. Reese, though, we have our finishing order on screen.
We certainly do. Josh Rogers taking the win by just a shy 1,000th under 11 seconds from Mitch McLeod. Scotty Harris completing the podium for One Performance Racing. Robert Northway beating out Brett Gretz in the end. So Gavin Sadler Racing over Middle Finger Racing there. Kyle Stevens for Pace Syndicate in 6th. Michael Skurlock a lap down for Illusion Motorsport. Unfortunately, Synergy Sim Racing, the biggest loser out of that, with Bob King on the 2nd lap out of this one.
Yep, great redemption from TTL Esports, and exactly what we know Josh Rogers for. Calculated race, nice winning margin there, and a little bit of much needed, not just redemption in the points, but a little bit of saving face for a very well-known, well-regarded TTL Esports.
Yeah, certainly. It has not been their night so far, so this will definitely lift their spirits coming into the final race here in the All-Star Team Challenge. We go to Phillip Island and the Formula Renault 2.0 for the next race of this one. Do not go away. We will go on a break while that is set up. You are watching the All-Star Team Challenge here on RaceSpotTV. Phillip Island coming up next in the Open Wheelers.
As As we prepare to crown the 2018 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series champion, and we're so happy that you're along for the ride with us this evening for the 18th and final race this season. We welcome you into the RaceSpotTV booth. Myself, Evan Pasoka, Randy Cheneth with you for the call tonight. Our director, Hugo Louise, is downstairs. And the iRacing Esports Network. One race to crown a champion. Let's go racing from Homestead. Green flag in the air to turn number 1. Nick Ottinger, your pole sitter, brings us up to the gears for the first time. We are going to go 3 wide for the lead at Homestead, just 9 laps in. Lewison wants to make the inside work, and Schoenberg way overdrove quarter 3. He'll throw this one away. Brad Davies with the big run.
Fortunately loose, Mr. Taylor Hurst. Michael Guest just coming up the racetrack. They both go for the same bit of real estate at the same time. The 05 and Nick Ottinger, bit of an in set up the dream situation. Michael picks up the 4th spot, and that puts championship contenders running 1, 2, 3, 4 as they come to start lap 107.
The battle for the top 4 is the battle for this 2018 championship.
Able to fight Ray here as they go down the front straightaway, but if you're 5 racing the 34 as he gets the wall that goes side by side in the 1.
It was the slightest bit of contact, but it breathes new life to Ray Alfala. Look how hard they drive it into the corner as Alfala pushes Lusa up the hill.
Back straightaway. Do either of them off the pit road? Yes, he does. Ray Alfala makes the call a few laps after Busa.
And he went right side by side with Lusa into the corner. And look at how Fowler digs sideways as he tries to get all the time he can. All kinds of out of shape as Ray Alfala drives it hard to pit road.
There is $10,000 on the line, 2 laps to go, and $10,000, 2/10 of a second separating it.
1 lap to determine the championship as Ryan Lusa still needs a car length and a half, just 1 into the final time. The 6 drives it in hard. He looks for the bumper of Alfala, but he is not going to get there in time. The 6 can't stay in the gas, and Ray Alfala is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
He has done everything he could have done to try and get himself into the championship picture. But 2018 has not been his year. 2018 has not been Gregor Hutu's year. Despite it being the last chance for, oh my word, have we just seen Matt Backham overtake Martin Kroenke on the final lap of the motor race? We have! Matt Backham takes the victory. Hutu second, Gregor Hutu in second place. What have we just seen? Martin Kroenke in third, and the title will go down to Kota. My word! I do not know what I have just seen. Silverstone a couple of years ago was the craziest finish I've ever seen to a World Championship Series race until today. And I'm just having a look. He doesn't... what did Martin Cronkite even do there, Jake?
I think he was out. I honestly think he was out. I haven't seen anything like this before. He was struggling to get the power on. I don't think he was out. Maybe he was wanting to give Matt Backen the victory because he was quicker, because he still had the championship. Oh my goodness, Martin. I think we have just seen the defining moment of the season. I have no idea what Cronkite's done. We'll have to ask him for an interview. But Gregor saw an opportunity, sent one down to the inside on the final corner. And I think that Cronkite wanted to give the victory, potentially, maybe not second. But this title's alive, Will. And De Jong has been given...
You are watching RaceSpotTV. This is the All-Star Team Challenge. If you're just joining us, this is a one-night, four-race competition to see who is the most versatile team in the iRacing Oz NZ community. We've had some interesting races, we've had some fantastic drives, we've had some surprise results for sure, but now we come to the final. This is the road section of the night. Phillip Island in the fantastic Formula Renault 2.0. Lower level open wheelers, David Haynes. They certainly turn it up, don't they?
Yeah, exactly, and I think they're pretty well suited to this track as well. It's an exciting track, and not just because it's relatively close to home, maybe not for you and me, but for the Australian community more generally. But that run off the final corner, down the main straight and into turn one is all very high-speed stuff. In a car like this, where I think the slipstream is going to be relatively powerful. So look for lots of potential passes into turn one and into the southern loop. Not to mention the plethora of other good places to put a pass on at this fantastic and historied road racing circuit.
Historied in sim racing as well as real life. In fact, this track was the first Australian circuit to be added to the iRacing service, along with the original Ford V8 supercar, all the way back in 2010. So this place has had so many virtual miles driven on it, it's not even funny. Fantastic track, fantastic location, fantastic opportunity for an excellent event. So we take a look at the points, the overall standings between the teams right now. One Performance Racing maintain their lead here. Despite not taking all the spoils in Oval and Rallycross, that Joker that they took in the dirt race and the sprint cars at Charlotte, it has really helped them.
Yeah, exactly. The Joker was always going to mix things up because you had to commit before the race, and then if that race didn't work out for you, like it didn't for Synergy Sim Racing or TTL Esports when they elected for their Joker, you can kind of waste it in a sense. But the second place from Zachary Phelan for One Performance Racing in our dirt race has the bulk of the points for One Performance Racing and keeps them at the top of the point standings coming into this race. But Middle Finger Racing in third, Talk Freak in fifth, yet to use their Joker, means they'll be using it in this last race. If they get a good race here, they stand to be able to jump a long way up the order. Talk Inc., TTL Esports and Middle Finger Racing still mathematically in this.
Yeah, we can't forget about the likes of Illusion Motorsport and Synergy Sim Racing too, on 68 and 66 points apiece. Those guys definitely in it. Illusion still has yet to use their Joker as well, so while mathematical contention is a little bit more iffy for those teams, they certainly have the opportunity to shuffle their way through the order in this one. So, we're currently in practice at the moment here at Phillip Island, And this is the lineup. You can see road drivers there on the far right of your screen. Glenn Postlethwaite for Synergy Sim Racing. Really looking forward to seeing how he does, because Posy, he has a lot of pace. The likes of Greg Olson for One Performance Racing. Brady Myers for TTL Esports as well. Very interested to see how they go. And we got the likes of Jackson Suslan Harlow for Middle Finger Racing as well.
Yeah, so there's definitely some well-known names, some very quick names, and just last week I was racing against Jackson Suslan Harlow, and he's mighty quick, and we've seen that as well. So Middle Finger Racing and some of those other teams there, all to play for them, and it's going to be very exciting, as I think we're just about to start qualifying.
Indeed we are. We are a mere 40 seconds away from qualifying session starting. And I'm interested to see how Scott Newton does, because he is taking the wheel of the Torque Inc. Formula Renault for this event, and Newton typically drives for Apex Racing UK. He is very quick in these machines, and with the strength of the field that we have got in this final round, he's definitely up against it.
Precisely. Once again, open setup, so we'll, I'm sure, see who's running a more trimmed out low downforce setup, or who thinks a little bit of wing will help them be quicker through the twistier bits of the circuit. I imagine though you'd really want to trim these things out for that straight line speed, especially down the main straight and in towards turns 3 and 4.
Yeah, for sure. It's it definitely goes without saying that Phillip Island is a straight line speed circuit, but it's also got some very fast corners as well. So that is the challenge that drivers face. I'd say in a qualifying session like this, with solo running, 2 laps available to the drivers, they'd probably put on a bit more wing on these things, get a bit more grip through the corners. Once they get into the race though, they will have to trim those things out, as you say, because, well, in these wings and slicks, open wheelers, even at the lower speeds that these Formula Renault machines go, you still have the dirty air effect, and if you're close up behind someone coming into turn 1 and you have a lot of downforce on that car, you will very quickly find yourself losing grip.
Exactly, you'd also find yourself potentially a sitting duck in a straight line racing in a pack. So eyes right now on that Torque Inc. car is qualifying underway. Looking pretty good, pretty smooth, and carrying the speed through, for example, Siberia back there. That's going to be really important. 6th gear approaching Lukey Heights. As he keeps his boot all the way in it, not quite downshift to 5th, but keeping it all the way to the left-hand side of the track. Difficult braking zone downhill, and we see doesn't quite get it to the apex. Locks up the inside right tyre in MG. Then from here, turns 11, turn 12, it's going to pretty much be the foot to the floor. As much horsepower as possible from that Renault 4-cylinder, making it very, very high speed run here in 7th gear. Gets to the line, 1 minute 30.7 for that one. I think that might outlap though.
Yeah, it certainly is. As the session reaches its 2-minute mark, the drivers will be starting their hot laps, and we're continuing to ride on board with Scott Newton through Southern Loop. Very nice and smooth through there, even getting into the dirt beyond the curbs as he makes his way around the first sector of the circuit. A 28.2 at intermediate 1. Pretty good run there for him. Second gear through Honda corner. And then, as you talked about before, David, through Siberia, this is a turn that it's quite a bizarre one, Siberia. You have a couple of lines you can take through it. You can get on throttle a bit earlier than you think you can.
It's one that I tell you I struggle with a lot. Can never seem to quite get the line right myself. Either I'm on the throttle too early or too late. And once again, locking up that inside front tyre. Very easy to do in MG, but so long as you still turn it Yeah, a lot closer to the apex though. My point that if you still make it to the apex, it doesn't really matter if you've locked up that inside tyre. The way the track drops away on the inside, you can still carry the speed, and a 126.6 from Glenn Postlethwaite puts him provisionally at the top until Scott Newton's time comes through and displaces Gregory Olsen by 2, I believe that's thousandths of a second, so very close at the top as the first times come in.
Very correct there. The drivers will have one more opportunity to improve on that, but I think that Newton and Olsen up the front there look pretty safe. We look at Jamie Burnell, who has not taken his car across the line on a hot lap yet. He is driving for JP Simshed, and be interesting to see how he does in terms of lap times. He did not set a time in practice, so we are in the dark as to what his pace is, but it seems like looking at his intermediate times, he'll be in the midfield or thereabouts. See how he goes through the last sector though.
Yeah, potentially. We definitely saw a 28-some second first intermediate from Scott Newton, presently the pole sitter. And as we said, JP Simshed didn't make it onto the grid in the Rallycross race, so it's good to see them back out here in race number 4. And that first lap from Jamie Burnell, 129.3, a little bit off the pace, but I'm sure he'll pick it up in this second one as a couple more times come in. And we're yet to see one from Brady Myers.
Gregory Olsen has extended his gap up the front, not by much, but it's enough. 100th as Brady Myers slots himself there into 4th place. Dave Roberts jumping in there in 8th place. And Scott Clark, have a look at that. Big vault for him up to 6th place.
Yeah, some teams taken to the grid on this one that we might not have seen earlier, because we've got 10 times on the board. We only had 8 cars for Rallycross. But definitely, boy oh boy is it close for pole position between Gregory Olsen and Scott Newton. But then also, 3rd and 4th is very close between Glenn Postlethwaite and Brady Myers. Absolutely got a race on our hands for this one, Reese.
Well, we certainly have. Cannot wait for the race to get going, but we still have the 4 minutes of the qualifying session to run out here. Jamie Burnell coming round to finish his second hot lap. This lap is going to be quicker. It's a 28.245. Unfortunately, it does not result in an improvement in his position. He is 10th and last, and that's nearly 2 seconds behind. Seems like he may struggle slightly in this one.
Yeah, indeed. The rest of the pack all covered by 1 second. Jamie Burnell, as you say, a little bit off the pace, but if the slipstream is as strong as I think it might just be, then Jamie Burnell might be able to stay with the pack if he gets the power down well on the exit of corners and doesn't make any little mistakes, might be able to stay with the slipstream. And as we've seen in the previous 3 races, if you get to the finish, you're definitely doing better than the people who don't. So that's what's to play for Jamie Burnell in this 10-car grid.
Yep, for sure. And as the rest of the qualifying session runs its course, let's discuss racing at Phillip Island briefly, because it's one of those circuits that that is a highlight of Australian motorsport. It's very different from quite a few international level circuits. There's only 2 corners that you could really call slow at this place. So very interesting opportunities for overtaking, but when you're going in a pack, as we're sure the racing is going to be here, do you want to be in front or behind is the big question. I would say in the early part of the race, you want to be in the front because you get the nice clean air going over your front wing.
Potentially, indeed. This is going to be a 20-lap race or 30 minutes time. And looking at those qualifying times, it's hard to say which one it's going to be. If our leader keeps putting in lap times faster than 1 minute 30, then we will go to those 20 laps. So I think that's what will happen. But it's a potential for a time certain finish. Regardless, here is our starting grid. On the pole, Gregory Olsen for One Performance Racing, just 1/100th of a second clear of Scott Newton for Torque Inc., who we know are going to be taking their Joker points this race. So that's a great starting position for Torque Inc. Third place, Glenn Postlethwaite for Synergy Sim Racing. Alongside or just behind him, Brady Myers for TTL Esports in 4th position. 5th goes to Middlefinger Racing and Jackson Sulan Harlow. 6th is Scott Clark with Redback Racing Team. 7th, Paul Mansell for Gavin Sadler Racing. 8th is Chris Purnell with Illusion Motorsport. And 9th and 10th, we have Dave Roberts with Pace Syndicate and JP Simshed's Jamie Burnow. Last but 10th with only spots to gain from there.
For sure. Now, the standing start here at Phillip Island is one that is quite interesting because you can see that there is a dip in the start-finish straight, and these drivers are actually starting uphill, but they very quickly go over the crest there. So, starting these Formula Renault 2.0 machines, not too familiar with how these things race, so I am unaware of what it's like to get one of these things off the line. You do have to be very careful not to bog down. That's certainly something to watch out for. Well, the revs are rising. We're getting ready to go for the final race here in the All-Star Team Challenge. Green flag flies, and away we go. Very good start there from Gregory Olsen. Scott Newton, unfortunately, not getting as good of a start as he probably would have liked, but it's too wide in the background there between Postlethwaite and Myers.
Yep, and what's the inside of turn 1 becomes the outside of turn 2, and Myers dives deep under brakes, gets sliding, and he's off the track. So is the Torque Inc. car, so is Postlethwaite. Torque Inc. car gets back out on the track, but I'm not sure Brady Myers has been quite so lucky, and the lead goes to Greg Olsen.
Yes, indeed, and they are racing incredibly hard here coming into Honda Corner. Gavin Sadler Racing, Redback Racing Team in amongst all of this. Middle finger guys in it as well. This is some crazy racing on the first lap, but how about Brady Myers? He just lost it on the inside there. He tried recovering it, but was just not able to. They are going very hard here up through Lukey Heights. That's around the outside, possibly coming into MG. Jackson Harlow and Paul Mansell really going at it here, but that lead for Gregory Olsen, it's looking good for One Performance Racing right now.
Yep, precisely. And they are the team leading the championship points coming into this race. It was Torque Inc. who still had a points joker to play, and unfortunately they got that tap in turn 2. Put them down. They can still recover, but at the moment, One Performance Racing looking very, very strong.
Oh, look out. Harlow going off, but oh, look at that. Look going off in the background there. That's Chris Purnell. Wow, very unfortunate for him, but very well recovered from the likes of Harlow and Clark. So that's broken up that battle quite a bit, and Scott Newton, he is definitely enjoying this as he gets a few positions back.
Indeed he does. In the background though, Brady Myers also very close. Very quick wheeler himself. I think he's just gotten past Glenn Postlethwaite from Synergy Sim Racing. They go into Siberia. Glenn takes the later turn in, later apex, trying to get the power on early. I think Brady Myers is clear and now has his sights set on those positions ahead.
Yeah, Myers carrying a little bit of damage though, due to his rear end making contact with another car coming through Southern Loop. So it's going to be a challenge for the TTL Esports driver to make this up. We've got Jackson Suzlin Harlow on screen at the moment for middle finger. Oh, he is having a couple
we did, didn't we?
Issues. Yeah, we did. Oh, and we do once again. So we take a look at the Redback Racing Machine following him. And I'm noticing Harlow, he is slowly moving down the order. His straight line speed is just not what it needs to be right now.
Yeah, exactly. Even with not the full draft down the main straight, Glenn Postlethwaite getting through, but holding it as well through turns 1 and 2, and good power down there. The draft will help out Jackson Sewell and Harlow. I'm not sure he'll be close enough to get on the brakes in Honda, though he's very brave. I'm not sure it'd stop him.
Yeah, certainly not. Harlow versus Scott Clark here. And look at Harlow there. They almost bang wheels, but Harlow, you can definitely tell, he set his car up for the corners. Look at the speed he gets through Siberia. That's insane.
Siberia, one of those corners you'd expect having more downforce, more grip would help you out, carry more speed through there. Here through Hayshed, maybe not quite so much. Over Lukey Heights, they're sort of on the limit of the grip just, and then coming in towards MG. Very hard braking zone.
Yes, indeed. We're going to briefly take the opportunity for some shots of the start, riding on board here from the view of Paul Mansell. And you will see just what happened to Brady Myers up ahead. He's the orange car there in the center of your screen, just above Harlow. So he went to the inside and just lost it on the curb. And it looks like a bit of an overcorrection, bit of a slide there. So looking back from Paul Mansell, you can see drivers making their way back onto the racetrack, and that of course started that massive chain reaction in the back there. Taking a look here from Brady Myers' point of view, we'll have a look at what happened from his perspective.
It's very possible he might have just gotten one of the inside tyres on the grass. We'll see for sure, but it was a brave move to go there just a tiny bit. Maybe bottomed it out on the curb as well. Regardless, very quick wheel work there to try and save it. He's back out, but lost a lot of positions from that one.
He certainly did. We look at Scott Clark, Jackson Harlow, and it seems Scott Newton as well for talking. So these guys well and truly in a three-way battle as they come up to Lukey. Clark a little bit slower. You can see Harlow's downforce working well for him there, able to just keep it on the track, but he's having to go defensive there against Newton. So this is a very interesting battle here. We've got one car that's set up for straight line, one car that's set up for the corners, and then we've got Scott Newton right in the mix of it as well. I think Harlow may just lose another position here.
Yeah, again, straight line speed not looking enough in that MFR car. I think whatever setup they've gone with, I'm not sure they've picked up damage. I think they're just carrying too much downforce. And I have to point out at this moment, Reese, how apt is it having Newton driving for Torque Inc.?
Yeah. I just got that. Oh my goodness. That's brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. Physics joke. But
yeah, checks out with me.
Unaware.
But once again, will Harlow be brave under brakes? No, he was a little bit too far back this time, but he's now in that section of the track where the downforce gives him some advantage back, but clearly not as much as he's losing in a straight line, as now Newton has his sights set on getting back up into what I believe would be second place.
Yes, indeed. He is on a big charge here, is Scott Newton, and we noticed that there was quite a bit of pace difference between the drivers here. So Newton obviously trying to take advantage of that. Harlow, though, you can see is really... Wow, hang on a minute. Is that Newton almost going for the move there? This
he absolutely had
very
a look.
Spicy.
In MG, he was potentially with the rears locked up coming there. A little wiggle, but he held on to it. And he has to stay in the draft. The driver of Glenn Postlethwaite moves all the way to the left to try and jump out of it, but they will go side by side into Durham corner. Scott Clark.
Unfortunately, Glenn Postlethwaite is currently occupying 9th position. I'm sure he would be absolutely beaming if he was up where Mr. Clark is at the moment, but nonetheless, that is Scott Newton back by David. And tell you what, the drive from Scott Newton in these last few laps has been nothing short of amazing.
Yep, definitely plenty of pace in that car. Doing very well under braces. Oh, he gets a bit of the curb there. A bit skittish getting the power down, but he holds on to it. And definitely looking quick enough in a straight line as well.
Yeah, certainly is. And I think it's in Clark's best interest that he tries to hang on to the back of Scott Newton as best he can, try and get some of that slipstream down the straights here and then the flat out sections. You see him working the wheel there through Lukey Heights as the car goes over the crest and down into MG. It's a fantastic set of corners here to finish the lap at Phillip Island. I think it's just flat out through that penultimate turn in the Formula Renault. Got to be careful of that rear traction though.
Yep, absolutely, and he moves once again to the left, try and break some of the draft. Jackson Sulan-Harlow, who we saw is not afraid to get deep on the brakes if he does manage to get a run. Lurking in the background though is still TTL Esports' Brady Myers.
Indeed, and Myers there just running behind Chris Purnell. Myers, once again, despite his wing being slightly bent, we want it to be a little straighter than that, but he is still managing to turn out some competitive lap times and try and make his way back up, salvage some kind of result for what has been, for the most part, a night to forget for TTL Esports, apart from, of course, the Rallycross event. We look, though, at second place, because Paul Mansell for Gavin Sadler Racing under pressure now from Scott Newton. This is significant for Torque Inc. because it will ensure that they get a very nice points haul out of this one, and they will take his Joker points with full honours just about in second.
Yeah, exactly right. We know that they didn't take their Joker points in the first race, the second race, or the third race. They're not allowed to not take them, and they've decided that this is maybe where their best chances lie. What do you see, Reese?
Scott Clark with issues. He's lost a few spots out of the final turn as Newton goes indeed for the move on Mansell, but it seems that that Clark unfortunately messed up the exit of the penultimate turn. Bit of understeer, so he's going to have to work for those positions all over again.
That's a little bit of heartbreak, and now he has Brady Myers behind him. He's in a little bit of a four-car battle there. That's maybe some of the closest grouping we've got on track, aside from Newton having to defend from the Gavin Sadler Racing car once again.
Yeah, Paul Mansell, very good form here, despite just getting past. It seems he is keeping Newton very honest here. Full props to Mr. Mansell there, but Newton, I think, doesn't have much hope of regaining possibly the lead of this one, because Greg Olson, way up in front, I dare say that One Performance is putting themselves in the box seat to win this one.
Yeah, precisely. I'm trying to do the numbers really quickly to see where Torque Inc. would end up with a Joker on the second place points compared to a win for One Performance Racing. And I have to say that would be enough for One Performance Racing to hold on to the points lead.
Yes, indeed. So doing everything right there out in front is Olsen, but Purnell versus Harlow here for 4th and 5th. Harlow once again in trouble down the straights, and Purnell for Illusion is certainly making it known that he has set up his car for the straight line sections.
Yeah, and even through Stoner Corner here, absolutely flat out, very high speed run. Harlow goes to the inside to defend, comes across a little bit. I suspect he'll just hold that inside, a little bump potentially. But how long could Harlow hold on to this position from Chris Purnell? It feels a little bit inevitable at this stage, as both of them miss the apex through Siberia.
Yes, indeed. That is something that you can get away with at Siberia, but still not entirely optimal. Have a look at Purnell. Unfortunately, almost going for the inside coming into Lukey, but Harlow, you can see, just absolutely superior grip through there. Purnell is going to have to wait until out of the last turn to put a move on Harlow here. Honestly, this is some pretty hard racing nonetheless. And Harlow, well, it's already been established he is a sitting duck in a straight line, and that right there is the proof of it. Purnell has assumed the position before they even get across the start-finish line. Harlow not letting it go without a fight, though. Trying to go for that move into turn one. Unfortunately, now that he has a car in front of him, he won't quite be able to make that superior downforce work for him.
I think his best bet is stay in the draft here. Do what we saw him do earlier. Move out late under brakes at Honda. No, he goes to the inside of Stoner corner, and they'll be side by side. Harlow's going to be very, very deep on the brakes. Will it be enough? No, he'll try to cross it back. Great wheel-to-wheel racing.
Yeah, excellent stuff. And that time, Harlow was on the outside, so the book was flipped. But you are right, though. Harlow, his best bet at this stage is definitely to stay in that draft, because the more he slides down the order, the worse. Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Oh, okay. So that right there is the difference in downforce having a negative consequence. I think Purnell, just a little lack of grip there. Harlow has come out behind him, though, so they get to do that all over again, those guys. So no harm, no foul, except they both lost 2 positions out of that. Now Myers and Clark are in front.
And this is as close as it's ever been. Myers is going to go to the right. That'll become the inside of Doohan corner, but be the outside of the southern loop. He might just get clear through turn 1. He does, but the 3 cars very close together there. And you wonder, is there any damage being carried by any of those cars?
There would have to be. I mean, Myers, I think it's a foregone conclusion. He definitely has damage. I'd say that that Harlow and Purnell definitely have a little bit of chassis damage from their contact,
which we're going to get a replay of.
Yes, indeed.
So here it is. Harlow goes to the outside, but tries to cross it back on the inside. Little wiggle, potentially. The two make contact, and Purnell, boy oh boy, went flying, but managed to hold on to it. Oh, no, he got the curb earlier.
Lost it on the curb, yeah. And Harlow, unfortunately, looks to me... Wow! Did you see how close that was with Myers? Incredible stuff.
Nothing in that. Myers was so close to being in another shunt, but this is another scary moment for Purnell, all locked up on the grass. I have to say, on seeing a different angle, my apologies go to Jackson, Sewell and Harlow, because that was all on Chris Purnell being too greedy with the turn in and getting that very sharp curb. Here's the onboard from Myers. Oh boy.
That's amazing stuff there. Well held to all drivers involved. I mean, that definitely had the potential to turn into a very ugly incident, but they all seemed to keep it just under enough control to make sure that nobody came out of it too badly. Harlow, though, you can see he is way behind these guys now, and with that contact with Purnell, I could see from the onboard it destroyed his front wing. Now that downforce can do nothing to help him.
Yep, 2 occasions there. Nerves of steel from Brady Myers, keeping the foot in. Should call him Bravey Myers.
That's terrible. My God. Where do I quit? Where do I hand in my resignation form after that?
In 8 laps time, because we've got to get to the end of this race. But the winner from all of that, though, Brady Myers did pick up 3 positions from Sewell and Harlow, from Purnell. He's also grabbed that other one from Scott Clark, moved himself up into 4th position. Not all over for TTL Esports, despite that little bit of rear wing damage that Brady Myers has been carrying.
You say he should be called Bravey Myers. I think he's riding the Bravey train right now on this this run of results. I did have to get that in, David. My sincere apologies.
No, I can't be the bad guy all the time.
certainly not. Sometimes I have to slip into that role, but Myers doing extremely well right now. As you said, nerves of steel. I think he will salvage a solid result here for TTL Esports. Very aggressive into Honda. Of course, these cars, you can definitely push them a lot harder than you first think.
Yeah, precisely. That's one of the things with these slick cars with slick tyres, a little bit of downforce too, can certainly carry more momentum through the corners than you can in something like the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car, which I last drove around here. So, with less horsepower but more grip, it really is bravery and on the brakes, for example, in MG corner there, or how you throw it over Lincoln Heights. It makes the difference in how much lap time you can extract from a car like this.
Yes, indeed. Around a track like Phillip Island, of course, the scan denotes that Phillip Island is a very smooth track. Of course, you can see those minute bumps in the surface thanks to iRacing's laser scanning technology. But by and large, Phillip Island's still a very smooth circuit, and that's really helping these guys manhandle these cars around this circuit. We're almost coming up to 3/4 race distance right now. We have seen a fair amount of action, but it seems like the field has spread itself out quite a bit.
Yeah, that slipstream effect early in the race was keeping the cars together, giving us some good racing, some good battles, but as it happens, when this field spreads out a little bit more, then we lose some of that wheel-to-wheel battling. It's definitely helping out One Performance Racing, though, that they've gotten a little bit clear. And they'll be counting on their fingers and toes to see how the points might shake out after this one.
Yes, indeed. Well, they are definitely the favourites at the moment. Mathematically, they have it at this present time, but of course we cannot speak too soon. We don't want to commentators curse anyone like happened in the Rallycross race. Gregory Olsen has just been the dictionary definition of consistency. From the moment he crossed the line to complete lap 1, every single lap he has done has been in the 1:26s. There's only a variance of about 3 or 4 tenths between his fastest and slowest laps once he was up to pace.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing pace for a car that only has about 210 horsepower, doing quicker laps than my Porsche 911 GT3 Cup does with about 430 horsepower. So they're not especially lightning in a straight line, but boy can they carry some speed through here in Siberia, over Lukey Heights, and particularly through the first corner and through the southern loop.
Yeah, exactly right. Scott Clark demonstrating very well for us what this car can now do through Lukey Heights. Got to be careful of that curb, the way it raises up in the mid-corner. That's what caught out Chris Purnell. So these final couple of turns as well, as we take a look at Mr. Purnell, is certainly one of those sections where it's easy to push the car a little too hard. Those are two cars going side by side up ahead.
That it looks like it was. Is that James Burnell? Yeah, he might be a lap down to Brady Myers there. Indeed, that is what is going on. So unfortunately for that JP Simshed car, not setting it alight in the final race, and they weren't able to take part in the Rallycross race, but props to them for showing up for this last race, giving it a good crack. And we can't hand out an all-star team challenge championship if we don't have a whole bunch of teams show up, so good on them.
Yeah, certainly. The the teams that have decided to enter for this one, they paint a very good picture of what the Australia-New Zealand iRacing community is like. Certainly a good spread of talent, a good spread of drivers, and some names that we recognise from various series all coming together to put on a show for us tonight as Brady Myers puts on a bit of a show for the virtual spectators down at MG.
Definitely using up all of those rear tyres, because as he came over Lukey Heights, he had a wobble there, got on the brakes for MG, a little wiggle as well. That just shows how hard he's having to push that thing to stay clear of the Redback Racing team car behind him. Maybe, just maybe, 4 laps to go, he thinks he can catch the car ahead.
Well, he's got a car that's working against him a little bit here. Myers, of course, with that rear wing, obviously the car might be a little bit snappy in those quick turns, but or Myers, of all people, will be able to cope with that. He has definitely shown himself to be a fantastic driver and a very consistent one as well. Meanwhile, have a look at this. Dave Roberts, Jackson Harlow. Yeah, certainly. And Harlow has just been passed there by Dave Roberts. A little bit of bump drafting on the run up to Honda. Roberts going defensive. We right on board with Harlow just briefly. Oh, can he squeeze through on the inside here at Honda? Roberts goes wide. Saw him coming there. Unfortunately, a little too much understeer for Dave. And he's going to have to try that again.
Yeah, very aggressive car placement there from Jackson Sutherland Harlow. Not afraid to crisscross again, throwing it to the inside late as he can, and very brave on the brakes, as we've seen before. Now, you have to think, if there's a less damage on that Pace Syndicate car of Dave Roberts, and he caught him earlier, there's still laps and time enough for him to get back up there, have a second go, and he's learnt something, maybe, about how Jackson Sutherland Harlow races.
That's exactly right. That's something that we don't often go into in our broadcasts, is the psychological games that drivers play with each other, against themselves and their cars. Look at the weaving in a straight line. That's another psychological thing. Jackson Harlow trying to break the draft, but of course Roberts doesn't need much help there. Look at him. He has already gotten up to the bumper of Harlow by the exit of turn 1. But have a look at them as they go through Southern Loop. Roberts having to go for that late apex, get a good exit. And now here he stands a good chance of getting by at Honda. They come through Stoner side by side. Harlow's going to have the inside. Right to the limit, these guys. Roberts going a little too deep this time, and they make contact. They bang wheels, they interlock, and Harlow is around. Roberts keeps going.
Have to say, maybe Harlow was a little too brave trying to push it to the outside there. He had got his nose back in front, but then that's been so costly. He's been picked up and spun around like a ballerina there, in fact. A very interesting little bit of contact.
Yeah, we ride on board with Dave Roberts for his view of the incident. Well, he was... Yeah, I get the feeling that might be on Harlow there. He wasn't entirely clear of Roberts before he tried to go back to the outside line.
Well, in the end, it sort of settles itself, doesn't it, as Harlow's the one that loses out there. 2 laps to go, though. There's potential that Chris Purnell might be catching Scott Clark. Having a look at that one. You know, for only 10 cars out there, we aren't short of action, really, are we?
No, certainly not. It's it definitely shows like how much these teams want this award, these trophies that will be handed out to them. It's definitely brought out some of the best and some of the most desperate driving we've seen in these hosted events. So I'm quite happy to see it. The fact that we've had the kind of action we've had with such a small field, I've definitely enjoyed myself.
And one thing to keep an eye on, though, Scott Clark has a bit of a wiggle. That our leader, Greg Olsen, with 5 laps to go, he was 5 seconds clear of Scott Newton. Now on the final lap, he's only 3 seconds clear. Scott Newton's not getting there quick enough but he's making Greg Olsen work for the potential win today. His final lap, Greg Olsen leads, but he's not home and dry yet.
No, certainly not. Look at Greg Olsen here for a virtual representation of him within the iRacing simulation. Nice and smooth as per usual here. Very nicely done, and that's the kind of driving that we've seen from him all race. It's a very Jackie Stewart-like performance from him. He's only going fast enough to ensure victory and no more. You know, a lot of drivers, you know, as sim racers, we do like to push very hard. We like to get the maximum out of our machines, but sometimes just touching the limit is enough. Gregory Olsen certainly proving that, as he's only got a couple of turns to go here, David.
Yep, exit this corner, he'll get the power down and not lift that throttle again until the checkered flag waves, which it's just about to do. Very, very strong, almost faultless performance here from Greg Olsen. Checkered flag will wave. You can see a little wave from him as well. He's happy with that. And Scott Newton from Talk Inc. will take second. And there's been some more drama further back in the field. Chris Purnell, something's happened to him at MG. So, of course, we will get a replay of that one. Brady Myers rejoining the track has clipped him. Wow, something for Brady Myers as well has occurred. So we watched that all by himself, locked up the rears. So you've seen some people have a wiggle there, and then he's rejoined onto the circuit. That has caught out Chris Purnell, who nearly ended up on his lid.
Wow, that's a controversial incident to finish things off. Illusion Motorsports and TTL Esports getting into it, but those are the unofficial race results there. Gregory Olsen, in winning this race, has secured One Performance Racing the title in the All-Star Team Challenge, we believe. Scott Newton for Talk Inc. taking second place. Paul Mansell, a very strong third for Gavin Sadler Racing. Scott Clark recovering to finish fourth after a few incidents. Brady Myers fifth in the end, despite almost being out of it on lap one. Chris Purnell finishing in sixth for Illusion Motorsport. Dave Roberts for Pace Syndicate in seventh. Jackson Harlow in eighth. Glenn Postlethwaite in ninth for Synergy Sim Racing, and finishing a lap down, Jamie Burnau for JP's Sim Shed. Well, that brings to an end the racing for tonight, but we are still not done here. We are going to interview the winning team here, One Performance Racing, right after this. Do not go away. You're watching the All-Star Team Challenge on RaceSpotTV.
That final showdown, we're going to log two more in. Four are going to leave here disappointed, and they're getting ready to grid to roll off for this 200-lap affair.
It's Cordy Vincent's field to control as they roll slowly at 40 miles an hour off the quarter to take the American Ethanol green flag. Round of 8 racing once more from Dover. Second to last race of 2018. Way sideways in the corner. The 12 machine holds it low, and it unfortunately snaps back up the hill. There it is. He just lost it. Coming down the back straightaway. Look out. And somehow doesn't get smoked by Zelensky. But that 27 was not as fortunate. And
side by side for that position. What is right now position number 3 on the running order, which could be a battle for the win potentially if this thing cycles out. Almost a little contact off turn number 4. Conti continues to fight on the inside.
He continues to dig on the inside, and this could be the most critical battle for what will be a race win we've seen all season long. The 24 should have a better run off of the quarter on the outside, but are those tires going to be too good into the quarter for the 5 to get the gap? Off of turn 4, he will push up, and yes, sir, Michael Conti passes Leahy for what is 3rd position, and it'll be his 2nd win in 4 weeks. Michael Conti wins from Dover, 2nd on the round of 8, and he'll head to Homestead in search of a 2nd championship, arguably as the favorite. Assist to the front bumper, and he hits him again now. Ray Alfala into the outside wall.
He's going to pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's going to get them all done with. What amazing.
Race lead to the inside goes Logan Clapman is going to touch in. Pit press sideways. What a save.
Look to the outside as Cronke goes off. De Jong into 2nd place.
Going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
I tried, there's contact though.
Slide left of the racetrack. Chris Renner drives it back down underneath, and he takes that 2nd spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact.
He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cutback here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Michael Schumacher, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
The post-race show, the post-event show here for the All-Star Team Challenge on RaceSpotTV. My goodness. My name is Reese Gardner. Joining me in the commentary box, David Haynes. As we have for the whole night of racing tonight, David, we have a team's winner. And One Performance Racing beating Talk Inc. by 3 points in the end. Talk Inc. took their joker, but they needed to finish in front of One Performance to get that title. They just missed it by a whisker.
Yep, exactly. Just the points that Talk Inc. missed on the dirt oval has come back to bite them, because 2nd place with the joker points in our final race. Really great run late on, but One Performance Racing sealed it, winning that last race. 3 points in it. It was so close.
It certainly was. We're going to bring in 3 of the One Performance Racing guys. Jake Blackhall along with Scotty Harris and Greg Olson as well. We'll start off with Jake Blackhall first. Unfortunately, Jake, your oval race did certainly not go to plan.
No, hey guys, it definitely didn't. It was a little bit of a mistake on my part. Didn't realise that I think it was actually Leah checked up as much as he did through the middle of 1 and 2 and got into the back of him through the middle of that corner. It actually gave me a lot of damage. I didn't realise it gave me as much as it did, so I just sort of trundled around from there. I was down on a straight line, had no mid-corner speed, and just tried to bring the points home for the team.
And that you did. At the end of the day, you guys managed to beat Talk Inc. in the team standings by 3 points, and that's certainly a result for you guys to be proud of. Nonetheless, despite that being one of the weaker results of the night, Jake, you certainly came away with a good team result.
Yeah, especially for my first time driving with the team. It's obviously moving from ERT over to One Performance, and to be able to get that, it was a bad result for myself for the first time in the team, but as a whole, yeah, we definitely proved what we can do, especially across all disciplines.
Yes, indeed. David, you have Scotty Harris for the Rallycross.
Yep, exactly. Scotty, with that Rallycross race, how do you think that one went for your team?
I believe for me personally, the Rallycross race, I did better than I thought I would, given the names that were in that race. You know, you had your Bob King, your Rogers. I wasn't expecting to finish quite where I was, so to come away with third in the Rallycross for the team was a really awesome event for us.
Now, after your team picked up big bag of points with second place and your joker points on the dirt, and after your result in the Rallycross, was it nail-biting watching the final race, knowing that it was in the hands of your teammates?
Yeah, it really all come down to the Formula Renault race there at the end with Greg, and we kind of put the pressure on him. We asked him to go out there and win, and we were just thankful enough that he was fast enough and was able to get the win there. It was a really good result for the whole team. I think we did really well tonight, and really no driver really kind of put a foot wrong besides, well, Jake with his little bit of an incident, but it still managed to bag enough points for us to come away with a good result.
Exactly, and with just 3 points in it, what was your overall team thinking between where you were going to take those joker points? Because we saw a lot of teams put it in the road race, our final race here. No one took it in Rallycross. We saw that you guys took it with the dirt oval. That was kind of a different thinking. What led you to that?
We went in with the mindset of we were most likely going to have the joker points being used in either for Zach in the dirt oval or for Greg in the Formula Renault, and we kind of made that call during the dirt practice when Zach was very confident and had a lot of speed in that car. So we took the gamble and did it there, and by the looks of it, it didn't really work. We probably should have stuck with Greg in hindsight, but it is what it is, and we still managed to come away with it, which is a really good result.
Were you guys nervous having the joker points on Zach, and then he got shuffled down the order?
Oh yeah, that was a very intense moment for us. We thought it was, at the end of the day, it was my call to give it to Zach, and I thought I kind of ruined it for the team, but he put on an absolute awesome drive to come back through the field and to finish second in that race after being shuffled all the way down the order straight off, well, on lap 2 with that contact. That was an awesome drive, and can't really thank him enough for putting on such an awesome comeback.
Thanks so much for having a word with me, Reese. We've got a couple other people to get to. Who are we going to hear from next?
We're going to hear from Greg Olsen, the final representative here for One Performance Racing. Greg, congratulations on your victory in the final race. Ultimately, that was what sealed the title for OPR.
Yeah, thanks, Reese. It was a little bit nerve-wracking at the start, but yeah, I guess it was pretty simple in the end of the day. I had to go out and win, which is what they told me to do, and luckily I was able to.
Indeed you were, and some very consistent lap times there as well. Scott Newton, obviously, it definitely helped your case, the fact that Newton went off on lap 1, but as he came up to the back of you near the end of the race, did you feel nervous at all?
To be honest, after that incident where I saw everyone go off on the first lap, I felt a lot more confident. One of my big worries coming into the race, besides not having the pace, was that it was just going to be a slipstream fest, but I got that nice gap, and I was surprised to see him come back at me, but I'd been managing the rear tyres for most of that first half of the race, so I figured I had enough in the back pocket just in case he got too close. So it wasn't too bad.
Certainly wasn't. You guys ended up getting that win by 3 points, as we have said. Well, before we let you guys go, I think Greg will give you the honour of plugging your sponsors. Who would you like to give a shout out to?
I'm still fairly new to the team, so I think I might leave that to Scotty.
Okay, Scotty Harris.
Yeah, I just want to thank all the boys at One Performance Racing for really giving us a hand through in the lead up to this event. Obviously, Knight Rider Designs for some ripper paint jobs on all our cars, Shepherd's Automotive, and Fast Cars Racing Developments. They've been with us from the start, and it's really great to have their support for our team.
Excellent stuff, guys. The boys from One Performance Racing, your winners of the All-Star Team Challenge. David, we have currently in the commentary box our second place finisher, Scott Newton for Talk Inc.
G'day, Scott. Second place, great comeback drive, and you had those Joker points on you for the final race, but in the end, it just wasn't quite enough to grab that championship.
Yeah, hey Dave. Yeah, absolutely. Going off at turn 2 definitely cost me the chance at the win. As I heard Greg say, it was potentially going to be a slipstream fest, but yeah, just having the experience with 400 ping, I saw that Brady threw up the inside, but yeah, I was already too deep anyway, and yeah, it was just my own fault. So yeah, just be able to close up the 3.5 seconds that I managed to close up was proof positive, but ultimately it wasn't enough to bag the 60 points that I needed to overtake OPL.
So driving this car, the Formula Renault 2.0 around Phillip Island, we saw quite a few people struggle over Lukey Heights, a lot of tyres locked into MG. What was giving you the most trouble driving this car at the limit around this circuit?
I would say that the downforce trim, because typically you want a sort of a medium downforce trim for this track, because obviously you don't want to be too slow in the straights, but obviously you need to have the downforce in the twisty section through Honda and Siberian, Lukey Heights and MG. So yeah, just getting that downforce trim absolutely nailed, and yeah, thankfully I had a bank full of sets that I had doing Apex on their own racing, but also me and Greg do official iRacing Formula Renault 2.0. So yeah, we know each other's strengths and weaknesses, but yeah, unfortunately, yeah, well, obviously with the track as well, it was a bit of taking. Oh, sorry, I needed to adjust to it as well. So this season was in an earlier time of day compared to afternoon, which was today.
And by any chance, was it a little bit of a late call-up to drive with Talk Inc. in this series?
Yeah, it's not very often that I actually get to do Australian hosted events. So yeah, I got the call-up from Talk Inc. and yeah, very appreciative of Mitch and the guys over at Talk Inc. for allowing me to drive alongside them today.
Well, I think you definitely did them proud, and a very good run overall by Talk Inc. to get so close to taking that championship. Reese, we've got a couple other guys from Talk Inc. in the room as well.
Yeah, we do have, to the tune of one, Mitch McLeod, guy who runs the whole joint. Welcome to the commentary box, Mitch. It was a very strong result for Talk Inc. Unfortunately, your dirt oval race didn't go to plan, but you, Ash Lear, and of course Scott Newton managed to claw some of that back.
Yeah, well, it was an interesting afternoon for us, because it was only just before we actually decided that yes, we're going to do it. We don't have enough people. We need to find some people to do it. So I conned the old man into doing it, and yeah, he signed up. Didn't know how many laps it was. I thought it was fixed it up, so it was all good. That's how much planning went into this event. So yeah, the old man did all right, and let down a little bit by his team to not have enough fuel in the car. But I'll tell you what, I think Scott Newton might have carried the team a little bit there. Like Ash and I had a couple of good, decent results, but oh, that performance from Scott, we can't ask for much more. Like, yeah, awesome job.
Yeah, definitely that comeback drive from Scott Newton, one of the highlights of the night, but certainly taking nothing away from the results that you and Ash got in your races. Your particular one, the Rallycross one, certainly was looking like a podium for you, but ended up getting elevated to a second after Bob King unfortunately ran into issues.
Yeah, well, I didn't actually see what happened to Bob. I was expecting third maybe, but yeah, I didn't actually see what happened, and all of a sudden I didn't realise that I forget, excuse me, who the other driver was in front of me, but I didn't realise he had already used both of his jokers. So when I took my joker and I ended up in front of him, I was a bit surprised because he actually had a little bit more pace than me. So, yeah, happy to take a second. Didn't have anything for Rogers at all, but yeah, overall, second for Torque, pretty damn good.
Yep, certainly is. And by just 3 points, you missed out on taking the victory there, but still, you must be very happy with how that night turned out.
Oh, for sure. You know, our team, we jump from one car to another, so jumping in different cars like this, I was looking forward to doing something like this with our team, but it was a bit unfortunate that, you know, the final round of the V8s we're on today, on like real life V8s, and you know, a couple of commitments from the other guys that we couldn't have the team that we wanted. So yeah, a bit disappointing in that remark, but either way, somehow we still pulled through for a second, so can't complain about that. We're over the moon.
Yep, certainly. Well, before we let you go, Mitch, any shout-outs?
Oh, look, got to thank Scott first and foremost for coming on board last minute. You know, we wouldn't have been in second position if it wasn't for him. So he sort of carried the team a little bit, even though he doesn't actually drive for the team. But we thank him heaps for that. But apart from that, I just got to thank Ash for convincing us to do this event. All the guys for putting it on, RaceSpot, and you guys in the commentary. It's yeah, nice little event. I've done most of these now. I think there might have been one, some fun. I hope there's going to be plenty more.
Yes, indeed. Mitchell McLeod there for Torque Inc. And David, we have one final driver interview here tonight. Scott Clark for Redback Racing Team, 4th place finisher in the Formula Renault race.
Yeah, hi, how's it going?
Scott, how was that race for you? Because we saw quite a few people make a little bit of contact, lots of passes. What did it look like from your driver's seat?
It was very close, especially with qualify. I think a lot of drivers would have struggled with their tyres being such a hot track. Those late apex corners.
And speaking about the night more generally, you know, you picked up 40 points in this race, or potentially more. We'll see if there's an adjustment to that. But overall, for Redback Racing Team, not the night you guys would have wanted. No points at the Oval at Miami, Homestead, Miami, and no points in the Rallycross. Why do you think that is? Is that a bit of a disappointment for you guys?
Yeah, we had some drivers, Adam Gardner and Harley Barber, were supposed to drive the Oval and Rallycross, but unfortunately they had some computer issues. We had David Baxter in the dirt. Yeah, I was watching the replay, his tyres hit the grass there and ran into a bit of trouble.
Well, so I guess you scored the bulk of Redback Racing Team's points, and it was enough to lift you guys above JP's Simshed. If there was another event like this in the future, how do you think your team would differently approach it, and what would you have to do to be able to really take a challenge at the top standings of an event like this?
Oh, probably definitely a bit more practice, everyone, I guess, but maybe some more reserve drivers. We were just struggling with that tonight, as the AMF Dev Series is also on tonight.
Alright, well, I guess congratulations to you on your finish in that final race, even if overall not the series that Redback Racing Team wanted. While we've got you, anyone you need to thank on behalf of yourself and on behalf of your team?
Yeah, just want to thank David Baxter joining me in the dirt, Mark Samuel, our manager, of course LeBlanc, our sponsor, and Redback Racing.
Alright, thank you so much, Scott Clark. Reese, now I think it's just about time to wrap it up with one more look at the championship point standings.
Yes, indeed. So We're going to bring it up on the screen now just to remind you all, One Performance Racing taking victory in the All-Star Team Challenge over Talk Inc. Very good run from One Performance Racing and from Talk Inc. as well to take that. Tell you what, look at how close it is for third, though. Gavin Sadler Racing just beating out Middle Finger Racing by 1 point. Illusion Motorsport only 1 more point further behind.
Yeah, exactly. So close in that mid-pack right at the end. 106 points to 105 to 104. There was a lot riding on that last race, so third place does go to Gavin Sadler Racing, fourth to Middle Finger Racing, and fifth to Illusion Motorsports. Sixth place, well, TTL Esports didn't quite have the team challenge we would have expected from a very established team like that. They weren't shy at bringing out some of their better drivers to field these races, but, you know, mistakes, contact, the only win that they grabbed was in the Rallycross with Josh Rogers. We saw Brady Myers in the last race come unstuck a little bit, hearing that on the hot track the rear tyres were starting to go off for a lot of the guys. So TTL Esports grab 6th. 7th on 86 points goes to Pace Syndicate. 8th place goes to Synergy Sim Racing. 9th to Redback Racing Team. And 10th place goes to JP's Sim Shed.
Yes, indeed. Unfortunately, Progression Racing Australia not entering cars in the races, so that completes your standings. Well, that brings to an end proceedings for tonight. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We definitely appreciate your viewership. We also want to give a big thanks to all the drivers and teams for giving us a great show, and of course to Clint Smith for organising this whole shebang, the All-Star Team Challenge. Fantastic event, fantastic drivers, fantastic night of broadcasting here on RaceSpotTV. My name is Reese Gardner, David Haynes alongside me. We thank you very much for watching, and we hope to see you again next time.